Chapter 289, Beat Up the Drowning Dog, Protect Yang. _6. Wang Jinfeng looked at Sun Chuanxiang apprehensively. Who are you? Sun Chuanxiang smiled and said, My last name is Sun, my family's shop is right on the snack street next door. Upon hearing that the person was also a businesswoman, Wang Jinfeng's caution faded quite a bit. Sun Chuanxiang continued, I noticed that your shop has been busy until now. You must be very tired after a day of work, aren't you? Wang Jinfeng laughed, It's okay, I'm not too tired. It's just a bit of handwork, much easier than farming. Besides, the salary that Yang gave was high, she didn't feel the slightest bit tired. How can it not be exhausting with such heavy work? Sun Chuanxiang sighed and continued, Money is hard to earn these days. If it wasn't for providing for the family, which of us women would be willing to expose themselves like this? These words really hit Wang Jinfeng's heart. She nodded, agreeing, Sister, what you said is absolutely right. Sun Chuanxiang looked around, lowered her voice and said, Little sister, I have a chance to make a fortune here, are you interested? A chance to make a fortune? Wang Jinfeng's eyes brightened, who doesn't like money? Seeing Wang Jinfeng's reaction, Sun Chuanxiang immediately believed she had a 50% chance. She took a stack of bills from her pocket and continued, Here is 1,000 yuan, if you can help me with something, this money is yours. 1,000 yuan was a huge amount to Wang Jinfeng. After all, she only earned 65 yuan a month now. Wang Jinfeng's eyes were about to be glued to that 1,000 yuan. Sister, what do you want me to help you with? As long as I can do it, I promise you. Sun Chuanxiang organized the money in her hand. Little sister, in fact, it's not difficult for you. Can you tell me the recipe for the sour fish? As long as you give me the recipe, this 1,000 yuan is yours. Wang Jinfeng got the hint, so this Sun Chuanxiang was after the recipe. Wang Jinfeng felt helpless. I'm just a worker, how would I know the recipe? Sun Chuanxiang continued, Little sister, I believe that if you want to know, you will find a way. Wang Jinfeng was helping Yang's noodle restaurant. If she wanted to know the recipe, she just needed to pay a little attention, it wouldn't be hard at all. After a pause, Sun Chuanxiang said, Little sister, if you think the money is too little, I can add another 500. 1,500 yuan was all of Sun Chuanxiang's savings. She was reluctant to part with it. But thinking about it from another angle, if she knew Yang's recipe, not to mention 1,500, even 15,000 or 150,000 wouldn't be a problem. As the old saying goes, no pain no gain. Wang Jinfeng was greedy to begin with, this was sure to work. Wang Jinfeng frowned slightly, Are you saying you want me to betray Yang? Sun Chuanxiang laughed, How can this be considered betrayal? This is having everyone make money together. I sell noodles on the street over there, you sell here, it won't affect Yang's business. Besides, my business can't compete with Yang's. Furthermore, if you don't say anything and I don't say anything, who would know that you gave me the recipe? Little sister, you must think about it carefully, a total of 1,500 yuan. Once this village is passed, there will be no such shop. Seeing Wang Jinfeng's indecisive look, Sun Chuanxiang changed her tone and continued, Little sister, you surely know how much Yang's noodle restaurant earns. Think about it, how much does she give you a month? This young girl Yang has absolutely no conscience. Could she earn that much money in a day without you? In my opinion, she should at the very least give you a monthly salary of 1,500 yuan. Since she is so heartless, you don't have to be generous to her. Sun Chuanxiang may lack many skills, but she's absolutely proficient at distorting facts and sowing discord. Seeing that Wang Jinfeng's complexion sinking more and more, the smile on Sun Chuanxiang's face deepened. It was about time that contemptible girl Yang got her comeuppance. Wang Jinfeng pushed Sun Chuanxiang away and cursed, Go away, you nasty piece of shit. Shameless. With such poor skills as yours, you're trying to sow discord in front of me? Don't think that I don't know what you're up to. You're just jealous of Yang. You want to steal Yang's business. 1,500 yuan? Even if you give me 15,000 yuan, I wouldn't do such a filthy act as betraying someone. Chapter 290, Beat Up the Drowning Dog, Protect Yang. _7 Sun Chuanxiang didn't see it coming and was pushed straight to the ground by Wang Jinfeng, her joints aching from the fall. And that wasn't all. Before leaving, Wang Jinfeng spat on Sun Chuanxiang and sneered, "Pah, cheap tramp." Although Wang Jinfeng loved money, enjoyed taking advantages, playing little tricks, and behaved shrewdly and aggressively, it could never be possible for her to betray Yang. Yang was their village's lucky star. She may betray anyone but not Yang. Not only would she not betray Ai Yang, but she would also keep an eye on the business for her, guarding against anyone who might betray Ai Yang out of greed or temptation. If anyone dared to sell their conscience and do something treacherous to Ai Yang, she would tear them apart herself. Sun Chuanxiang hadn't anticipated such a reaction from Wang Jinfeng. Not only did she fail to get the lamb she wanted, but she also wound up in deep trouble. Had she not offered enough money? It was a full 1,500 yuan. For perspective, that was 50 times the monthly wage of an average worker and enough to pay for 4 years' wages. What exactly had Ai Yang done to make Wang Jinfeng so loyal to her? Infuriated, Sun Chuanxiang was almost bursting. Undoing the buttons of her coat, she took it off, soaked with spit, and walked away cursing obscenities. Initially, Wang Jinfeng didn't take it seriously. Let her curse, it wasn't skin off her nose. But when Ai Yang's name was mentioned, she lost her cool. It was one thing to curse her, but to disrespect Ai Yang? She wouldn't stand for it. Wang Jinfeng quickly turned around and charged at Sun Chuanxiang, grabbing her hair. Who the hell told you to insult Ai Yang? You cheap slut. Trash. Your whole family is trash. Wang Jinfeng was known for her many fights with the women in the village. Avoiding any visible areas like her face or head and aiming for the private parts, she hurt Sun Chuanxiang, who was screaming out in pain without leaving any trace of injury. It was afternoon, everyone was either resting or working and the dumping ground was remote. No one came to Sun's aid despite her desperate screams. Stop, stop. They'll never do it again. In desperation, Sun Chuanxiang pled for mercy. Only then did Wang Jinfeng stop, feeling satisfied. If I hear you bad-mouthing Ai Yang again, I'll tear your filthy mouth, she warned. I won't anymore. Sun Chuanxiang whimpered like a drenched dog. Wang Jinfeng dusted her hands off and walked away. Upon returning to the noodle restaurant, Wang Jinfeng stayed vigilant in case Sun Chuanxiang sought help. Today had been truly infuriating for Sun Chuanxiang. Not only did she fail to achieve her goal, but she was also beaten. She couldn't bear the embarrassment if this got out. In the mall. Although the shop by Skin Jade Face wasn't always busy, they rarely failed to make a sale when a customer came in. And each transaction was above 120 yuan. As skincare products often sold as sets. Ai Qingguo was applying lipstick when a familiar voice filled the air. Qingguo. Looking up, she saw her old colleague Jialan. Xiaolan, exclaimed Ai Qingguo, aren't you supposed to be at work today? Jialan chuckled. I swapped shifts with someone to come to see how you're doing here. How's your job? Not bad. Ai Qingguo nodded. Actually, you could tell that Ai Qingguo was far better off working here than at the tram company. Embellished with golden necklaces, earrings, rings, you couldn't even guess her actual age. She exuded luxury and class. And her skin condition was extraordinarily good. Looking around the store, Jialan regretted not accepting Ai Chenggui's invitation before. However, prestigious as this place was, in the end it was a job at a private business. Saying she worked at the tram company still carried more prestige. With her mind racing, Jialan spoke up. Qingguo, I'm here to talk about the transfer student issue. My husband said, there will be an entrance exam for the city high school in June. If the grades are up to par, you could be admitted as a transfer student and sit the National University entrance exam next year. Given her husband's position, it was possible for Ai Yang to get directly into his class without an exam. However, if her marks were poor, they might affect the class overall results and his reputation as an excellent teacher. Therefore, he had given up on the inside track and suggested that Ai Yang take the entrance exam. Really? Asked Ai Qingguo, visibly excited. Jialan laughed. Do I have any reason to lie? The entrance exam is 3 more months down the line. Encourage your relative's kid to hit the books. I have already reserved a spot for her. Her admission as a transfer student depends on her. Xiaolan, I can't thank you enough, said Ai Qingguo, hugging Jialan in excitement. Even though Jialan had only helped her with a reservation, it alleviated a lot of unavoidable trouble. For an outsider, registering for the local school's transfer student entrance exam was not easy. It would necessitate calling on contacts. Jialan laughed and said, Come on Qingguo, we've been colleagues for many years. Why the formality? Oh, I heard that Ice Skin Jade Face has a new product out. Is that right? Jialan was no charity worker. She wouldn't help Ai Yang sign up for nothing. Ai Qingguo was no fool and she understood Jialan's implications immediately. She quickly handed over a box of eye cream to Jialan. Yes, this limited edition eye cream. It's the last one this month. They'll give you a 50% discount. Jialan glanced at the price tag. Wow. 108 yuan. This meant she just saved a whopping 54 yuan. Chapter 291. Popular Eye Skin Jade Skin, Sun Dalian's unknown past. _1 The most important thing is, this eye cream is so popular. Other wealthy people can't buy it, but not only did she manage to buy it, she even got it 54 yuan cheaper. Jialan happily handed over the money. Xingge, thank you so much. Whenever Bingjiu Fu releases a new product, you must let me know. Jialan is now a huge fan of Bingjiu Fu. As soon as a new product comes out, no matter how expensive it may be, she will buy it. And Xingge laughed, sure thing, just relax. As soon as a new product is available, they'll set it aside for you. Jialan put the eye cream in her bag and then said, right, Xingge, I told our old Zhang about this. He said the examination for transfer students this year is particularly difficult, especially for English and mathematics. At this time, English had just been incorporated into the college entrance examination for a short period, therefore the English foundation of the people was generally not good, and the awareness of studying English was not very high. Many people with excellent academic performance had tripped over it before they knew it. This English thing has to start from a young age, cramming won't work, that's why Jialan's husband was reluctant to accept Ni Yen, who was from the countryside. One of the reasons was that he doesn't think a little girl from the countryside will be able to do English examination papers. Therefore he preferred to give up a student rather than risk lowering the college admission rate. Ni Qingui nodded, okay, I'll tell Yang Yang as soon as I get home. That night, after Ni Qingui returned home, she told Ni Yen about this. Ni Yen exclaimed in surprise, really, Auntie Ni? Can I really take the exam in June? Ni Yen had also consulted about transfer students in school before the new year. However, at that time before the new year, the relevant policy had not yet been issued, and it was particularly difficult for foreigners to register. Ni Yen had many documents she didn't have ready, so it was delayed for a while. She didn't expect Ni Qingui to bring her good news. Ni Qingui nodded, really, my colleague has already registered for you. Auntie Ni Yen exclaimed happily, thank you so much. Ni Qingui chuckled, child, why are you being so formal with your aunt? After her words, Ni Qingui continued, right, Yang Yang, my colleague said this year's English and mathematics are both very difficult, so be careful. Ni Yen nodded, okay, Auntie Ni. With Ni Yen's background from her previous life, English and mathematics weren't a big deal for her, but she did need to review some knowledge points. After all, a good memory isn't as good as a bad pen. The next day, Ni Yen went to Gooden's house. Gooden's older brother is called Li Fugue, nicknamed Gosheng. He is the same age as Ni Yen, currently in his senior year of high school, and will be taking the college entrance examination in June. When Ni Yen went, Li Fugue was sitting on the doorstep reviewing his lessons. Because the light in the house wasn't very good, and he didn't want to waste electricity by turning on the light during the day, he decided to study outside the house. Gosheng. Yang Yang? Gosheng looked up at Ni Yen. Although Gaosheng's name sounds a bit unpleasant, he was actually quite handsome. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes, was tall as a northerner should be, a complete pretty boy. Come inside and have a seat. Gosheng stood up and led Ni Yen into the house. Once inside the house, Gosheng was busy making tea for Ni Yen, but Ni Yen said with a smile, Gosheng, you don't have to be so busy, I came to borrow something from you. Gosheng asked, Yang Yang, what do you need to borrow? Can I borrow your senior year textbooks? Ni Yen continued to ask. Sure. Gosheng nodded and then asked, Yang Yang, are you thinking of taking the college entrance examination this year? Gosheng was a smart lad and he guessed Ni Yen's intention right away. He didn't worry about Ni Yen at all. For someone as talented as Ni Yen, the college entrance examination was no big deal. After all, Ni Yen was the pride of their whole village. Ni Yen explained, it's too late for this year, I want to take the city high school's transfer student exam, then take the college entrance exam next year. Gosheng nodded, fetched a big stack of textbooks and revision materials from the house. Yang Yang, is this okay with you? Ni Yen flipped through the textbooks with her hand. It is, thank you Gosheng. It's no bother, Gosheng scratched his head shyly. These books have been sitting around at home anyway, you can use them as long as you want. It's normal for Gosheng to feel shy in front of such a beauty like Ni Yen. However, other than feeling shy, he didn't have any other thoughts. Gosheng was a very rational person, a person who was particularly self-aware. Chapter 292. Popular Ice Skin J Beauty, The Unknown Past of Sun Dalian _2. Well, I'm leaving then Gosheng. The stack of books was quite heavy, weighing at least 10 to 20 pounds. Gosheng was about to offer to help Anai Yang carry them home when he saw her easily lift the stack with one hand and stroll off as if the books weighed nothing at all. She was stronger than he expected. Gosheng marveled in silence. After Anai Yang returned home, she began reviewing her lessons even though she had been out of school for quite a while. To her surprise, she didn't have any difficulties doing so. Anai Tsuehua was aware that her daughter was studying and made sure to lower her voice to not disturb her. Not until the afternoon did Anai Yang come out of her room, stretching lazily. Yang, you must be tired from reading for such a long time. Have some milk tea first, Anai Tsuehua said, bringing her a cup of milk tea. Anai Tsuehua was intelligent. In less than half a year, she had already mastered the art of making milk tea and even created new flavors. Thanks, Mom. Anai Yang took the milk tea and gulped down more than half of it in one go. After finishing her milk tea, she went to the kitchen to prepare a snack for the workers building the house next door. After some thought, Anai Yang decided to make lard pancakes. In a time when everyone lacked oil and fats in their diet, no one would appreciate any other kind of snack. An hour later, Anai Yang had prepared a basket full of lard pancakes. The lard pancakes were golden on both sides. They were crunchy and oily, winning everyone's approval. After several days of hard work, the basic structure of the house had taken shape and the walls were already half a meter high. Wang Tiniu, who was munching on a lard pancake, came over with the blueprint. Yang, I still don't quite understand this part of your plan. What is this pipe for? Anai Yang glanced at the blueprint and explained with a smile. This pipe is for drainage. This is the bathroom. Bathroom? The term was new to Wang Tiniu, leaving him a bit confused. Anai Yang paused to let Wang Tiniu finish his pancake before explaining. The bathroom is where you take a bath and use the toilet. In rural areas, the toilet was just a toilet. For baths, people would simply fill a large wooden basin and wash up in their rooms. Wang Tiniu had never heard of bathing in the toilet before. Yang, won't it stink? He asked. At this time, rural toilets were basically large pits surrounded by a wooden frame and covered with a cloth curtain for privacy. In winter it wasn't so bad, but in the summer, it was unbearable. Not only did it smell terribly, but it was also full of flies and maggots. Every time Anai Yang had to use the facilities, it was a mental struggle for her. Wang Tiniu could not picture how one could possibly bathe there. Anai Yang explained further, it won't stink. We will install a flushable toilet here. The waste will be flushed away immediately. There will also be a ventilation system, and the bathtub will go over here. After listening to Anai Yang's detailed explanation, Wang Tiniu nodded, seemingly understanding some of it. Okay, got it. I just need to make sure the drains and pipes are positioned correctly, right? Anai Yang nodded in response. Yes, that's right. At the Zheng family residence. Zheng Lingling had noticed that Madame Zheng was acting strangely these past few days. More specifically, since the day they returned from the state-run restaurant, she had been out of sorts. She would stare vacantly at one spot, occasionally shedding tears for no apparent reason, and her appetite had waned. All these signs pointed to one fact. The old woman was thinking about her biological daughter again. Each time she thought about this, Zheng Lingling would grit her teeth in frustration. What? She had taken care of the old hag for so many years, but the hag still couldn't forget the daughter who had been dead for years. Was she planning to adopt that little girl she saw at the state-run restaurant? Or had she heard news about her long-lost daughter? Zheng Lingling scrunched her brows and ordered the butler, Lu, to be called over. Zheng Lingling had been with the Zheng family for many years and knew that the person Madame Zheng trusted most was Butler Lu. Butler Lu would definitely know if something was amiss with Madame Zheng. If she wanted to find out something, she would have to start with Butler Lu. Chapter 293, Popular Ice Skin Jade Skin, Sundalian's Unknown Past _3. Madam, you called for me. Zheng Lingling stood up with a smile. Uncle Lu, you don't need to be so formal with me, please have a seat. Strictly speaking, Butler Lu could be considered someone who watched Zheng Lingling grow up, hence it was appropriate for her to address him as Uncle Lu. However, Butler Lu stood upright. Madam, without rules things will not stand. It's not right for me to sit. Butler Lu was a very loyal person, but also had a peculiar temper. In his mind, a master was a master and a servant was a servant. Where was the reason for a servant to sit with his master? Butler Liu's loyalty seemed to be seen differently through Zheng Lingling's eyes. She thought that Butler Lu was deliberately showing his displeasure to her because of his long tenure at the Zheng family, thus the refusal to sit. After all, she was only the adopted daughter of the Zheng family. From the elders to even the most ordinary servants, none of them ever took her seriously. How infuriating. Zheng Lingling suppressed the anger in her heart, deliberately probing, Uncle Lu, the matter my mother asked you to investigate some time ago, how are things going? Butler Lu asked in surprise. The old lady hasn't asked me to investigate anything recently. Zheng Lingling laughed. Uncle Lu, there's no need to hide it from me. We are all family members. I also very much hope to find Tingting. As I watch my mother lose weight day by day, my heart aches too. In this house, I much more than anyone else hope to find Tingting. Please tell me honestly, do you have any news about Tingting? It would be better for me to have some certainty, rather than being blindly anxious. Zheng Lingling's words were moving, and her eyes even began to redden, looking every bit the good daughter and good sister. Butler Lu, having the ability to be a butler, was not a pushover. He didn't reveal any emotions. Miss Tingting has been missing for 34 years, and the old lady has been looking for her for 34 years. But after all these years there has been no news. The old lady has actually given up hope a long time ago. Zheng Lingling wiped her tears. Uncle Lu, did my mother really not ask you to look for Tingting? Really not. Zheng Tingting continued, after so many years, my mother has only me as her child by her side. I don't know if she would want to adopt another child. If she does, I have a suitable candidate. Butler Lu glanced at Zheng Tingting. Madam, you jest. Miss Sun is already 19 years old. How could the old lady still adopt children? Zheng Lingling separated from Butler Lu, realizing she wouldn't get any information from him, so didn't say much more. Butler Lu then said, Madam, if there's nothing else, I will take my leave. Zheng Lingling nodded. Please take your time, Uncle Lu. Butler Lu turned and left. Zheng Lingling watched Butler Liu's retreating figure, a malicious gleam in her eyes. Mom, do you think we're overthinking? Zheng Xianjing came over from behind. Zheng Lingling curled her lips. That old man is just stubborn. Mom, Zheng Xianjing squinted her eyes. What do you mean by that? Zheng Lingling didn't directly respond to Zheng Xianjing's question. Instead she said, Go, call Xiaolu over. Xiaolu was Butler Liu's son. Despite being wise his entire life, his son was not half as smart as he was. Zheng Xianjing glanced at her watch. Mom, I don't have time, you can tell Ms. Li to call him. As she finished, Zheng Xianjing picked up her bag from the sofa and quickly walked outside. Xianjing, where are you going? Zheng Lingling stood from the sofa, looking seriously at Zheng Xianjing. Zheng Xianjing turned her head. I am just going out for some fun. Mom, what is it? Zheng Lingling asked with a frown. Are you going to see that worthless sixth son of the Mo family again? Zheng Xianjing said quietly. Mom, what are you thinking about? How could I possibly go and see that waste? Last time I was blind enough to mistake fish eyes for pearls. Don't worry, Mom. There won't be such a situation again. Zheng Lingling asked doubtfully, Is that true? Of course it's true. Zheng Xianjing nodded and then said, Mom, I now have a new goal, and I am determined to find you a son-in-law who's not a disgrace. Who? Zheng Lingling asked. Zheng Xianjing said, Mr. Mog. Mr. Mog? Zheng Lingling was startled. She walked over to Zheng Xianjing, and said with a mixture of surprise and happiness, Xianjing, if you could actually catch Mr. Mog's eye, that would really bring honor to me. Zheng Xianjing confidently said, Mom, don't worry, I assure you, I won't let you down. Chapter 294. Popular Ice Skin Jade Skin, Sun Dalian's Unknown Past _4. Zheng Lingling continued, So, you've met Mr. Mog in person? Zheng Xianjing smiled. Even though I haven't officially met him yet, it's not much different from having done so. I'm privy to secrets that others don't know. Mr. Mog will sooner or later be at my mercy. Zheng Xianjing had never lacked self-confidence. After all, she was beautiful and from a good family. Who in all of Beijing could compare with her? Zheng Lingling looked at Zheng Xianjing, her face full of satisfied smiles. She was ambitious and aspired to greatness. This was her daughter, Lingling's daughter. Compared to a good-for-nothing like Imo Qishan, how could he ever be worthy of her precious daughter? Mom, I won't keep you any longer. I'm going. Zheng Xianjing turned to leave. Wait. Zheng Lingling called to Xianjing once again. What is it, Mom? Zheng Xianjing looked back. Zheng Lingling touched her face. If you're going to the mall, remember to bring back a box of anti-wrinkle cream and a moisturizing whitening cream for me. Oh, and my facial cleanser and aloe vera gel are also running out. Get me a bottle of each. No woman lacks a love for beauty, and Zheng Lingling was no exception. For the past half a year she had been using the Ice Beauty skincare products, and her skin was in very good condition. Not only Zheng Lingling, pretty much the entire circle of elites was using Ice Beauty. Zheng Xianjing said helplessly, Mom, are you kidding me? The whitening moisturizing cream and anti-wrinkle cream are all limited edition products. It's the end of the month, how could there possibly be any left? Zheng Lingling sighed, then just get the facial cleanser and aloe vera gel. The whitening moisturizing and anti-wrinkle creams can wait until the beginning of next month. I'll have Mrs. Li pre-order them. Alright, I got it. Zheng Xianjing nodded and left. After Zheng Xianjing left, Zheng Lingling had someone to bring Xiaolu. Compared to his father, the butler Mr. Lu, Xiaolu was far from competent. He was like a mouse in front of a cat when he saw Zheng Lingling. Zheng Lingling grilled him for a long time, but Xiaolu only managed 2 sentences. No, I don't know. Zheng Lingling was so angry but didn't show it. She waved her hand to dismiss Xiaolu. No way. It seemed she had to hurry up and get that old man to make a will. Otherwise she wouldn't have a day of peace. Thinking this, Xinjing put her anger aside and headed to the kitchen. In the kitchen, several servants were chatting. Seeing Zheng Lingling, they all flattered with smiles. Madam is here to make chicken soup for the old lady again. Madam is so filial. Zheng Lingling's filial piety was evident to everyone in the Zheng family. She not only personally did the laundry for Mrs. Zheng but also personally made chicken soup and all kinds of tonics for her every day. A few days studying at home, Anai Yang found an opportunity to visit the noodle restaurant and the milk tea shop. On her way there, Anai Yang saw a man riding a bicycle. Dressed in a white shirt, black suit trousers and black leather shoes. Somehow, seeing this outfit reminded Anai Yang of Mo Qishan all of a sudden. Speaking of which, it's been quite a few days since she last saw Mo Qishan. What was he busy with these days? With these thoughts, Anai Yang quickly arrived at the noodle restaurant. Both the noodle restaurant and the milk tea shop were booming. It was mealtime and there were endless customers. As soon as Anai Yang arrived, she began to help out. In a daze, she thought she heard someone outside calling Yang Yang. Anai Yang put down what she was doing and went outside to check. Outside, besides people queuing for noodles, there were only passerbys. Who was calling her? Anai Yang wiped her hands on her apron and turned to head back inside the noodle restaurant. During the lunch break, Anai Yang went to the mall. Because she had given Anai Chingui a heads up in advance, he didn't reveal to the others in the shop that she was the owner of Ice Beauty. He only said that she was his niece. The shop wasn't always full of people, but the daily turnover was even higher than the noodle restaurant. Because the skincare products were expensive, each person who came in would spend about 100 yuan. Thus, only 30 to 40 customers per day would be enough to bring in a considerable turnover. Aunt Anai, these milk teas are for you to drink. Anai Yang handed the bag of milk teas she was carrying to Anai Chingui. Anai Chingui accepted with a smile. Yang Yang, you're too kind. Besides Anai Chingui, there were 3 other young girls in the shop. They were called Wu Jing, Zhou Xingxing and Tao Wan respectively. Chapter 295. Popular Ice Skin Jade Skin, Sun Dalian's Unknown Past _5. Anai Chingui was very selective. These 3 girls were all remarkably good-looking. The skincare industry is not like other industries. If the salesperson was not attractive, the sales of the skincare products would drop. So, all the salespeople in the beauty industry were exceptional looking. Additionally, Anai Yang had quietly observed that the service attitude of these 2 girls was quite good. Compared to other sales guides in the mall, they were much better. However, this might have something to do with Anai Yang's management plan. Because it was clearly stated in the contract that they would receive a cent commission for every bottle of skincare product sold. Who doesn't like money? Anai Chingui distributed the milk tea to the 3 girls. This is the milk tea that Yang Yang bought for you. The 3 girls thanked her in unison. Thank you, Yang Yang. Ah, I know this milk tea place. This is their upgraded version. It has grass jelly and tapioca pearls. It cost 50 cents a cup. Normally there's a long queue to buy it. It tastes so good. I will buy it after work. While they were drinking the milk tea, Anai Yang looked around in the shop. Anai Yang was attractive. Even if she was behind a glass door, she still attracted many customers. Anai Yang was very professional in recommending skincare products, and in no time she had made 800 yuan in sales. The 3 girls were stunned. This is amazing. Although the skincare shop was profitable, Anai Yang was still not satisfied because she couldn't always sell the same skincare products. If she remained stagnant, she would be eliminated by the market. Even though she had decided to develop rose water before rose water, Anai Yang wanted to research a new product. What should she research? She already had facial cleansers, aloe vera gel and various creams. Right. She could research face masks. Currently there were no face masks in the market. In Anai Yang's memory, face masks were introduced to China by the Divine Water brand in 1993, and it was loved by all. The divine water brand was from our country. How could our country monopolize all the good things? As far as Ni Yang knew, the material for the first-generation mask was non-woven fabric. There was no production of non-woven fabric in Beijing. The only place that could produce non-woven fabric for beauty products was Guangguan. Guangguan was hailed as a beauty paradise in later generations. It was the first stop for many foreign skincare brands when they entered China. As long as there were designs, one could find manufacturers in Guangguan that could produce non-woven fabric face masks. As Ni Yang was thinking and wandering around in the shop, she already had a detailed plan. After staying in the shop for a while, she said goodbye to Ni Qingui. The moment Ni Yang left, the three girls gathered around Ni Qingui exclaiming, "Sister Qingui, your niece is so beautiful. She looks even better than the movie stars on TV." There wasn't a trace of flattery in the eyes of the three girls. They genuinely thought Ni Yang was beautiful. Hearing others compliment that Ni Yang was beautiful, Ni Qingui was also very happy. She said with a smile, "Of course, could my niece be anything but beautiful?" Wu Jing's eyes wandered for a moment, then she said, "Sister Qingui, does Yang Yang have a boyfriend yet?" "No." Ni Qingui shook her head. Wu Jing continued, "Sister Qingui, my aunt's son is 21 this year. Although he is not as good-looking as Yang Yang, he is a public servant. Could you help Yang Yang by mentioning him?" Being a public servant was a big deal in this era. Who knows how many girls would fight to marry one? "No, no," Ni Qingui shook her head repeatedly. "Yang Yang is going to college. When would she have time for a relationship?" With that said, Wu Jing had to give up this idea. It wouldn't matter if Ni Yang didn't go to university, but if she did, being as beautiful as she was, she could marry any kind of man she wanted in the future. Just as Ni Yang left Crystal Radiance on the first floor, she could hear a strange female voice behind her. "Ni Yang?" Ni Yang turned around and saw a young girl carrying big and small bags. Who was this? Ni Yang was stunned for a moment, then she realized, wasn't this her cousin Lu Xiangxiang? Ni Yang, long time no see. Lu Xiangxiang stood in front of Ni Yang in a haughty manner. Her eyes were full of endless mockery and disdain. Ni Yang responded in a neutral tone, "Do you need something?" Lu Xiangxiang said, "Ni Yang, let me tell you, I'm not the former Lu Xiangxiang anymore. I'm now Gu Xiangxiang. Take a look at this and this. This is the whitening moisturizer from Crystal Radiance. This is anti-wrinkle cream. Money can't buy these. I specially had the maid in our house to reserve these for me. Ni Yang, we are no longer in the same world. I am the majestic young mistress of the Gu family, and you? What about you? You are merely a lowly individual business owner. What can you compete with me with?" Chapter 296, Popular Ice Skin Jade Skin, Sun Dalian's Unknown Past _6. When she got to her last words, Lu Xiangxiang felt incredible exhilaration. She could finally trample all over this country bumpkin who came from the rural areas. Lu Xiangxiang, having been a common worker's daughter for over a decade, had finally turned her life around and became a lady of wealth, and of course she wanted to show it off. "Your mom remarried?" Ni Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. For someone like Lu Wan who was money-obsessed, it wasn't surprising that she chose to remarry. It seemed like Lu Wan had latched onto some kind of rich big shot this time. The Gu family. Ni Yang frowned slightly. There were not many people with the last name Gu in Beijing's circle of wealthiest families. Moreover, Lu Wan was not young and had a daughter. It was unlikely that she would have many suitors. "My mom married into the Gu family." Lu Xiangxiang did not feel that there was anything low about her mother's actions. In fact, she was rather proud of it. "Do you know the Gu family? One stomp of my father's foot, and Beijing would tremble. Ni Yang, if you kneel down now and bow your head 3 times, he'll forget about the times you've wronged me in the past. Otherwise, I will have my father chase you out of Beijing." "Your stepdad is Gu Yaozu?" Ni Yang continued. It seemed like her father was quite famous. Even a country bumpkin like Ni Yang knew about him. Feeling even more triumphant at this moment, Lu Xiangxiang thrust out her chest and said, "That's right, Gu Yaozu is my dad. So what, are you scared now? If you are, you should kneel down before me at once." Ni Yang laughed lightly. "Are you sure Gu Yaozu is your father?" "Of course." Lu Xiangxiang lifted her head arrogantly. Ni Yang then said, "That's strange. Isn't Gu Yaozu old enough to be your great-grandfather? He's not 90, he's at least 80, right? Lu Xiangxiang, you flaunting the benefits your mother gets for selling her youth and her body? It's really quite disgusting." Ni Yang's tone was light, however every word stabbed deep into the heart. like a sharp sword slicing open Lu Xiangxiang's outer layer of pretense, exposing her most corrupt side to the air. Lu Xiangxiang was thrown into a panic immediately. How would Ni Yang, a mere individual business owner, know about the age of Gu Yaozu, a social elite? Having said that, Ni Yang turned around to leave. Lu Xiangxiang screamed in frustration. Ni Yang, stop right there. Aren't you afraid that my father will come after you? So what if Gu Yaozu is old? A skinny camel is still bigger than a horse. Besides, Gu Yaozu is already 80 years old this year, he won't live for many more years, and he doesn't have any biological children. She was his only daughter. When Gu Yaozu dies, she would inherit all the wealth of the Gu family. By then she would still be superior to others, while Ni Yang would merely be a noodle seller. Ni Yang smiled faintly, turned to look at Lu Xiangxiang, sparks in her eyes, and provocatively said, "I'll be waiting." Now, it was a society ruled by law, and she wasn't taken aback by someone like Gu Yaozu. Moreover, whether Gu Yaozu would stand up for his stepdaughter Lu Xiangxiang was still an uncertainty. In her past life, Ni Yang had had business dealings with Gu Yaozu. She knew him too well. In her previous life, Gu Yaozu had married a young and beautiful wife who was 45 years younger than him. The young wife had stayed with Gu Yaozu for 18 long years. Just as she was about to inherit his wealth after his death, she didn't get a single cent. Because Gu Yaozu had written a will long ago, donating all his assets to impoverished mountain areas. So, the young wife had wasted 18 years with him and ended up with nothing in the end. As it could be seen, Gu Yaozu was even more ruthless than a wolf. But at that time, Ni Yang had never imagined that Gu Yaozu's young wife would be Lu Wan. Lu Wan really pushed it to the extreme. She actually married Gu Yaozu, a man whose face was covered with age spots, for money. As Ni Yang walked, she kicked the small pebbles on the lane, a faint smile playing on her lips, her dimples showing slightly. Like trying to suck you in, charming and dazzling. What Ni Yang didn't know was that Mo Baichuan had also walked out from the mall behind her. He had seen everything that just happened. He had originally thought that Ni Yang would surely be at a disadvantage when facing the overbearing Lu Xiangxiang, but unexpectedly, in the end, Ni Yang was even more imposing. This was not the demeanor that a common country girl should have. Chapter 297. Popular Ice Skin Jade Skin, Sun Dalian's unknown past. Under 7, his gaze was unconsciously drawn to Ni Yang. This feeling was very strange. He didn't know what kind of person Ni Yang was. She seemed a bit different from what he had imagined. Mo Baichuan squinted. Only when he could no longer see Ni Yang's figure did he finally leave. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. At this moment, Li Xianxian emerged from behind Mo Baichuan, her face filled with a gloomy expression, her eyes filled with malice as if she were poisoned. Mo Baichuan's attention was ultimately drawn away by Ni Yang. No. She absolutely couldn't let anyone steal her stuff. Mo Baichuan could only belong to her. It seems she could no longer simply sit idly by. Li Xianxian clenched her fists. If you looked closely, you could see her entire body was trembling. Ni Yang went straight to the detective agency. "Miss Ni, you're here," Xiaozhou greeted Ni Yang with a smile. "Please have a seat." Ni Yang leaned over to sit down on the bench. "Mr. Xiaozhou, the matter I asked you to check last time, is there any progress?" "It's been clarified," Xiaozhou continued. "Sun Dalian gave birth to a child when she was 16 with a local scoundrel. The following year, before the child had even turned 1, she ran off with her mother and there was no news of her thereafter. According to the villagers, Sun Dalian seems to have died in a car accident." After the investigation, this was the only shocking thing about Sun Dalian's past, so Xiaozhou of course brought up the most important part. "Is the information reliable?" Ni Yang's eyes lit up. So this was why Li Xianxian had changed her name and was so afraid of her past being known. It was because of this. An unwed mother, yet she still wanted to marry into the Mo family. TSK, her ambition was truly not small. "Of course it's reliable." Xiaozhou handed Ni Yang the file bag in his hands. "Here are the details of the male's family residence and some other information." Ni Yang opened the bag and read through the documents at a glance. After reading, Ni Yang lifted her gaze to ask, "Is that child still alive?" "He's still alive," Xiaozhou replied. "The child is now 5 years old and is being raised by the father, but their life is very tough, barely surviving by deceit." Ni Yang nodded. "All right, I understand. Thank you, Mr. Xiaozhou." "You're welcome," Xiaozhou smiled. "It's all part of our job." After leaving the detective agency, Ni Yang went to the vegetable market to buy groceries. Having such significant news, she of course needed to celebrate properly. When Ni Yang returned after shopping, she immediately sensed that something was amiss. Someone was following her. Moreover, there was more than one. Ni Yang slightly raised her eyebrow, maintained her pace, and turned into a dead-end alley ahead. Just then, a dark figure rushed towards Ni Yang's back, while another person tried to bag her head with a sack. Ni Yang's ear twitched, and in a flash she lifted her right leg. A perfect backspin kick followed. With a thud, the man with the sack was kicked to the ground. The other man, seeing this, was scared and immediately turned to flee. My God, that's so terrifying. Was this really the action of an 18-year-old girl? The fleeing man wet himself in fear as he ran, filling the air with a disgusting urine odor. Ni Yang frowned slightly, deciding not to chase after him, and kicked the man on the ground. What's your name? Who sent you? Please spare my life, sister. I'll tell you everything. Chapter 298, A Very Important Person. _1 The man was scared out of his wits. He never imagined that a young girl could knock him down with a single kick. My name is Sun Shiwu, an old woman sent me. She's veiled, so I don't know her identity, but we agreed to meet in a small alley on the northwest side after I finish my task this late afternoon. Scared out of his wits, Sun Shiwu confessed all his past involvements. Sun Shiwu? Ni Yang raised her eyebrows slightly, a hint of cunning flashed in her eyes. It was a good thing she had previously done a background check on Li Xianxian. Otherwise she would have missed this critical figure. Ni Yang's face changed instantly. She quickly squatted down to help Sun Shiwu up. Turns out you're Uncle Shiwu. What a case of not recognizing one's own kin. I am Yang Yang, don't you remember me? Sun Shiwu looked at Ni Yang in confusion and fear, worried that if she were displeased she might kick him again. He did not remember Ni Yang. He was very sure that he had never seen Ni Yang before. Because Ni Yang was too beautiful, and if he had met this attractive girl he would definitely remember. However, he had absolutely no impression of Ni Yang. Seeing Sun Shiwu's reaction, Ni Yang continued, Uncle Shiwu, I used to play with Dalian all the time. Do you remember me? I was the Yang Yang who always had a runny nose. Which village doesn't have a few little girls who love having runny noses? To convince Sun Shiwu, Ni Yang was willing to damage her own image. After hearing this, Sun Shiwu seemed to recall something. There were a few little girls in the village who loved to follow Sun Dalian around. 2 of them always had runny noses. Could Ni Yang be one of those 2? Women sure do change a lot when they grow up. He never expected that snot-nosed girl to become so pretty. Sun Shiwu was secretly astonished. Ni Yang continued, Uncle Shiwu, do you remember now? Sun Shiwu nodded his head. I seem to have some impression. Ni Yang laughed. Uncle Shiwu, it's good that you remembered. When did you come to Beijing? How are Aunt Ashu and Dalian now? Upon mention of Li Shu and Sun Dalian, a strong resentment appeared on Sun Shiwu's face. His face distorted instantly, as if he wished he could kill the mother and daughter right away. Those shameless bitches are already dead. Nobody should mention those bitches in front of me ever again. As soon as he finished speaking, Sun Shiwu realized his mistake and immediately apologized to Ni Yang. I'm sorry, Yang Yang, I wasn't yelling at you, I was yelling at those 2 bitches. Ni Yang's kick just now had left a deep impression in Sun Shiwu's heart. Even though Ni Yang was always smiling and kindly calling him Uncle Shiwu, Sun Shiwu was still very scared. The fear was uncontrollable. It's fine, it's fine. Ni Yang continued, Uncle Shiwu, what exactly is going on? Aunt Ashu and Dalian are really that flirtatious bitch. Sun Shiwu spat on the ground. She ran off with that little harpy. No man could endure the betrayal of his own woman. In the countryside, having your wife and child run away was humiliating, and therefore, Sun Shiwu was forced to make his way to Beijing by begging. It's obvious how much Sun Shiwu hated the mother and daughter pair, Li Shu and Li Xianxian. Ni Yang hid a smile and began comforting him. Uncle Shiwu, don't be angry. Perhaps there has been some misunderstanding? Aunt Ashu and Dalian are such good people, they couldn't possibly do such a thing. Ni Yang's words were like pouring oil on a fire, completely igniting Sun Shiwu's anger. How could it be a misunderstanding when 2 people are gone? Those shameless bitches. They've completely lost face for our Sun family. When I find them, I will skin them alive. Ni Yang continued, Uncle Shiwu, you must be hungry, right? How about we find a place to eat and chat? Sun Shiwu hadn't had a proper meal for many days, otherwise he wouldn't have resorted to such desperate measures. But hearing that Ni Yang wanted to treat him to a meal, Sun Shiwu was still wary. He had treated Ni Yang so badly, Would she still be kind enough to invite him for a meal? Could it be a trap? Even though Sun Shiwu wasn't sharp, he also wasn't a fool. Chapter 299. A very important person. _2. N.I. Yang seemed to discern Sun Shiwa's wariness and continued, Uncle 15, it's kismet that we fellow townsfolk bumped into each other in such a large city like Beijing. You're my elder, so it's only right that I treat you to a meal. I know of a restaurant with amazing braised pork ahead. The chicken soup there is also good, and so is the lamb noodle stew. Sun Shiwa's eyes were practically gleaming and he kept swallowing hard. Meat. He hadn't had meat for nearly half a year now. No matter what. As long as he could devour some meat, even dying wouldn't matter. Even in death, he'd be a spirit satiated by meat. Sun Shiwu squared his courage and continued walking with N.I. Yang. N.I. Yang took Sun Shiwu to a small restaurant, and together they ordered a full 10 dishes, all of them hearty meat dishes. Even before the food was served, Sun Shiwu was drooling. So much food, can we finish it all? N.I. Yang just smiled. This place is delicious, we'll definitely finish everything. Before long all the dishes were served. N.I. Yang continued, Uncle 15 dig in. You don't have to stand on ceremony with me. At her words, Sun Shiwu didn't even bother reaching for the chopsticks. He just grabbed a chunk of fatty meat with his hand and began wolfing it down. Delicious. So incredibly delicious. Sun Shiwu was so touched he almost shed tears. After half a year he was finally eating meat. He had suffered a lot for sure. N.I. Yang sat across Sun Shiwu and spoke, Boss, a bottle of baijiu please. The boss was quick to serve a bottle of erguota liquor. N.I. Yang personally served Sun Shiwu a cup. Uncle 5 eat slowly, let's have a drink first. Sun Shiwu mumbled his thanks and then downed the entire drink. Great liquor. Really great liquor. Yang, I won't lie to you, ever since that damned woman ran off with that little bastard, I haven't had a drink. Sun Shiwu felt like he was dreaming. Not only did he have meat but now he was drinking as well. N.I. Yang said, Uncle 15 drink slowly. Don't rush, all this liquor is yours. After devouring all 10 meat dishes, Sun Shiwu was left satisfactorily burping. Was amazing. The food was absolutely amazing. Yang, thank you so much. Sun Shiwu gratefully looked at N.I. Yang. I've never been as satisfied as I am today in my entire life. N.I. Yang laughed. Uncle 15, you don't have to be so polite. After all, Sister Dalian and I grew up together. You're her father, so that makes you my elder. Thanking me would be too formal. Even an outsider like N.I. Yang knew how to respect elders. What about his own daughter? She ran off with that flighty woman. The little wretch. If he knew where that wretch and the old hag were, he would make sure they wouldn't have it easy. Thinking about it made Sun Shiwu increasingly agitated. Knowing when to stop, N.I. Yang didn't say anything more. She turned to look at the restaurant boss. Boss, bring 2 bowls of braised pork and 2 grilled chickens please. Sun Shiwu immediately said, Yang, there is no need to order any more, Uncle is already full. N.I. Yang smiled faintly, Uncle, this is for you to take home and eat. Sun Shiwu, feeling a lump in his throat, didn't know what to say. N.I. Yang was such a good girl. How did he end up raising an ungrateful daughter? The restaurant's boss soon brought the packed braised pork and grilled chicken. Sun Shiwu took it with heartfelt gratitude towards N.I. Yang. N.I. Yang smiled and dismissed his thanks. Uncle 15, where do you live? I'll visit you sometime. Sun Shiwu didn't hesitate. I live at number 18 in the alley behind the street. The residents of 18th alleyway were all people struggling to get by. It was clear Sun Shiwu wasn't lying. N.I. Yang nodded. All right, I will surely visit when I have time. Leaving the restaurant, N.I. Yang took Sun Shiwu to a roadside stall and bought him 2 sets of new clothes. When he got home, Sun Shiwu found 50 yuan in the pocket of the clothes. 50 yuan. Not only had N.I. Yang treated him to a meal and bought him clothes, but she had also given him money. She was several times better than his own daughter. Thinking of Sun Dalian and Li Shu, Sun Shiwa's eyes filled with a vengeful glare. Wait and see, you wretches. One day he will ensure their painful demise. As night slowly deepened, Sun Chuanxiang anxiously waited in the courtyard. She had no idea if those 2 had succeeded yet. They should have been successful, right? After all, N.I. Yang was just a young girl, and the 2 she had sent were robust men. Chapter 300. A very important person. _3. With that in mind, Sun Chuanxiang felt considerably relieved. She turned around and headed back to her room. After putting on a mask and a hat, she walked out. She had already coordinated with those 2 individuals. Once the job was done, They would meet in the dead-end alley in front of number 18 on the back street. When Sun Chuanxiang arrived at the dead-end alley, no one was there. Just then, everything went black before her eyes as she was hooded with a sack. Then came a flurry of punches and kicks raining down on her. Sun Chuanxiang rolled on the ground in pain. Unfortunately, this dead-end alley had been meticulously chosen by her. It was rarely traversed by anyone. And Ai Yang wielded a wooden stick yet displayed no signs of holding back. Sun Chuanxiang had tried to take her life. Why should Ai Yang show her any mercy? She certainly wasn't a saint. Help! Help! Someone help me! Sun Chuanxiang, unable to see anything, cried out in desperation. Above every head there watches a god. Sun Chuanxiang, this is your retribution. Ai Yang's red lips barely moved. From them came a resonant masculine voice. It echoed faintly in the alley, resembling the voice of a bodhisattva from a TV show. People were somewhat superstitious those days. Upon hearing these words, Sun Chuanxiang got so frightened she wet herself. Spare my life, bodhisattva. Spare my life. I will burn incense for you once I go back. I swear I'll never do bad things again. Let me mend my ways, please give me another chance. Sun Chuanxiang managed to struggle up and started kowtowing on the ground. Each kowtow resulted in the sack being smeared with more blood. He'll let you off today. Ai Yang tossed the wooden stick on Sun Chuanxiang's body and walked away. Her footfalls were light, so light that they were practically silent. How could anyone walk without making a sound? This only served to reinforce Sun Chuanxiang's belief that the individual was a bodhisattva. Too terrified to move, Sun Chuanxiang knelt on the ground. It was terrifying. Truly terrifying. She vowed never to do anything wrong again. Sun Chuanxiang, tears of pain streaming down her face, dragged her battered body and limped away. As she emerged from the alley, Sun Chuanxiang saw a person she did not expect. Ai Yang. It was March and she was wearing a beige cheongsam with a dark blue coat draped over. Her hair was half tied up with a blue hairpin matching the coat. She exuded a radiant aura of beauty, like a figure stepping right out of a painting in the dusk. Having just done something wrong, Sun Chuanxiang did not dare to spare Ai Yang a glance. With a benevolent smile, Ai Yang approached and took the initiative to say hello, Aunt Sunday. Pale-faced with fright, Sun Chuanxiang collapsed to the ground, sobbing, I'm sorry Ai Yang. I was wrong. I shouldn't have been led astray and engaged those two to hurt you. Can you forgive me? Ai Yang gently helped her up. Aunt Sun, what happened? Somebody wanted to hurt me? I don't understand what you're talking about. Right. Ai Yang still didn't know about it. Hastily, Sun Chuanxiang covered her mouth. Nothing. Nothing. I didn't say anything. And with that she scampered off, a picture of embarrassment. Watching her retreating figure, Ai Yang's lips curled slightly into a faint smile. Innocent and harmless, nobody could connect her to the violent girl swinging a wooden stick 10 minutes prior. Due to the enormous shock she had experienced, Sun Chuanxiang fell seriously ill that night. Ai Yang, on the other hand, made a hearty meal. Delicious dishes such as steamed mandarin fish, tender ginger stir-fry, anti-aging yam lamb and many others. Of course, not forgetting the breast-enhancing sweet rice balls. Breast enhancement was a long-term project, and it couldn't be relaxed at all times. The three of them cleaned up the entire spread without leaving a crumb. While some found joy, some found sorrow. Ai Yang had a satisfying meal and a comfortable hot bath, but Zheng Xianjing didn't fare as well. She was thinly dressed, standing in the freezing wind outside the racecourse, shivering from the cold. She was waiting for someone. She was waiting for Mr. Mog. There were rumors that Mr. Mog would definitely leave the racecourse tonight. Zheng Xianjing wanted to have a coincidental meeting with Mr. Mog while she also wanted to confirm if Mo Baichuan was indeed Mr. Mog. Just then, a tall and upright figure gradually walked out of the racecourse. Chapter 301. A very important person. _4. He was dressed in a black trench coat, a subtly glowing cigarette dangling from the corner of his mouth. His chiseled features concealed in the darkness of the night were somewhat elusive, but his entire being radiated a sense of mystery and elegance. It was Mr. Mog. It was him. Emotions surged in Zheng Xianjing. Quickly, she brushed her wind-blown hair hastily. But in the next second, her smile froze on her lips. Wasn't that Mo Qishan? Could it be possible that Mo Qishan was actually Mr. Mog? If Mo Qishan was indeed Mr. Mog, then how could she explain what happened last time? Before Zheng Xianjing could react further, two more figures slowly emerged from the darkness. That was Mo Baichuan. Relief washed over Zheng Xianjing. She had known all along that a useless man like Imo Chishan couldn't possibly be Mr. Mog. The real Mr. Mog must be Imo Baichuan. Ignoring Li Xianxian, Zheng Xianjing walked directly up to Imo Baichuan. Brother Baichuan. Xianjing, why are you still here this late? Imo Baichuan frowned slightly. Zheng Xianjing was 6 years younger than Imo Baichuan. Plus, the Imo and Zheng families had always been close. Hence, she and Baichuan had practically grown up together and shared a sentimental bond. Imo Baichuan had always treated Zheng Xianjing like a younger sister. Zheng Xianjing continued, our car broke down and the driver has gone to get it repaired. Could you give me a ride home, Brother Baichuan? As she finished her sentence, she gently pulled Baichuan's sleeve, looking like a helpless kitten. With her decent looks, this gesture only heightened her appeal. Li Xianxian, standing next to Imo Baichuan, was left grinding her teeth in irritation. She was a woman. Couldn't she see what Zheng Xianjing was trying to do? How shameless. She, the legitimate girlfriend, was standing right next to Imo Baichuan, yet this little wench Zheng Xianjing had the audacity to flirt with him. Had Zheng Xianjing stopped considering her the official girlfriend at all? Let's go. They'll take you home. Imo Baichuan cast a glance at Zheng Xianjing. Thank you, Brother Baichuan. Zheng Xianjing sidestepped Li Xianxian, reaching out to hold on to Baichuan's arm directly. Zheng Xianjing had no fear of Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian was just an unwanted orphan, not worth Zheng Xianjing's consideration at all. When it was time to board the car, Li Xianxian made the first move, opening the front passenger seat and hopping in, leaving the back seat to Zheng Xianjing. Once her seat belt was fastened, Li Xianxian turned to Imo Baichuan, demonstrating her understanding. Baichuan, a guest is a guest. Why don't we drop Xianjing off at home first? Imo Baichuan nodded in agreement. What a considerate guest. Zheng Xianjing looked at the back of Li Xianxian's head, narrowing her eyes slightly. It turned out she had underestimated Li Xianxian. This woman was much more cunning than she had imagined. The jeep sped along the highway when a black sedan whisked past them. The car window was half open, and for a moment, Zheng Xianjing thought she spotted a familiar profile. Was it Imo Chishan? By the time Zheng Xianjing looked up, the black car had already disappeared. She must have seen wrong. The car that had just sped past was a luxury imported car. Even the Zheng family didn't have the means to acquire such a vehicle. Could a small fry like Imo Chishan afford one? With that thought in mind, Zheng Xianjing's eyes filled with contempt once more. In fact, Zheng Xianjing was right. The man in the car was indeed Imo Chishan. The driver was Wu Daming. Sixth brother, you won't be leaving again after this trip, will you? Imo Chishan flicked his cigarette lazily. Who knows? Has your family's house been built yet? Wu Daming shook his head. It's under construction. Expected to be completed by June. By the way, sixth sister-in-law's house is also under construction. Have you decided on a gift yet? Wu Daming was trying to remind Imo Chishan that Ni Yang had not bought a house but was building one instead. Only a simpleton like Imo Chishan would have bought a house. The thought of Ma Shinshan pouring so much money into it made Wu Daming's heart ache. During the time Imo Chishan was away from Beijing, he was oblivious to Ni Yang's situation. He didn't miss her till now, but the moment she was mentioned, every part of Imo Chishan started to ache. He hadn't seen his wife for so long, how could he not miss her? Imo Chishan took a deep puff of his cigarette, exhaling a ring of smoke. Look out for imported refrigerators and washing machines. His wife's beautiful hands certainly wouldn't be subjected to the rough job of washing clothes. A refrigerator was also indispensable. With summer approaching, having a refrigerator would not only be convenient but would also allow access to cold drinks. Chapter 302, A Very Important Person. _5. After some thought, Imo Chishan added, also keep an eye out for window units. In this era, air conditioning did not exist yet, but window units did. A window unit functioned in the same way as an air conditioner and was its predecessor. However, it was a self-contained unit that provided cooling but not heating. During this time, window units were generally imported from our country and were pricey. Ordinary households could only afford to look on from a distance. Even wealthy families needed to use their connections to get one. However, Imo Chishan could easily obtain as many of these units as he wanted by simply asking for them. Understood, Brother Six. Wu Daming nodded, then asked, Brother Six, where will we be heading tonight? Imo Chishan rubbed his temples, showing signs of fatigue. Let's go back to the manor. Wu Daming had originally planned to discuss the house matter further with Imo Chishan. Seeing Imo Chishan's fatigue, however, he decided against it. The noodle restaurant and milk tea shop were still doing an excellent business with daily profits being quite substantial. This instilled in Yang the idea of opening more branches. If you want to multiply money, opening more branches is essential. Sticking to the status quo means never earning more. Although Yang did not have a lot of extra cash, she did have enough to buy a shop. Yang walked down the street and cast her gaze on Sun Chengxiang's sour fish stall. While Sun Chengxiang's pickled fish noodles were not tasty, their reputation for deliciousness had already spread in the vicinity. With Yang's shop often experiencing long queues, Sun Chengxiang managed to earn some money every day. But if a shop was opened directly across from Sun Chengxiang's stall, would people still go to her noodle stall? Yang had no intention of letting Sun Chengxiang off easily. Yang gave a slight smile and turned to walk towards the opposite shops. There is a row of shops here. Some were in business and some vacant shops were for lease. Yang took a fancy to two adjacent shops. One of the shops was 65 square meters, and the other was 20 square meters. The larger one would be used to sell sour fish, while the smaller one would sell milk tea. Just as Yang was surveying the surroundings, an elderly man with white hair approached her and asked softly, "Young lady, are you thinking of buying these two shops?" Yang nodded, "Yes, old man." Upon hearing this, the old man immediately became agitated and shook his head, repeatedly saying, "You can't buy them, absolutely not. These two shops mustn't be bought." Yang asked curiously, "Why not?" The old man whispered, "Young lady, let me tell you, these two shops are notorious. Before you there have been 3 buyers, they sold fruits, clothes and even rice, but they all ended up closing. These shops have bad feng shui." Yang smiled slightly, "Thank you for your warning, old man. But my luck is very strong. Don't worry, I will be fine." Even though she had gone through reincarnation, Yang still didn't believe in feng shui. Even if someone gave you a place with excellent feng shui, if you don't know how to do business, you would still end up closing in the end. Everything is up to oneself. In this world there are only useless people, there are no useless things. Upon hearing her words, the old man could only shake his head and sigh, "Not taking advice from seniors, you'll suffer in front of your eyes." Yang didn't mind the old man's words. She paid over 40,000 yuan and got the property certificate. The other shop owners around looked at Yang coming out after paying, as if they were looking at a fool. "Why does that young girl look so familiar? I think she does look familiar. Is she the boss who sells the pickled vegetable noodles? It looks like it's her. It's a pity though. She has such a good business and yet she bought 2 cursed shops. When her business dies she won't even know why. Young people these days sure have guts." Yang didn't care about their regretful words and continued walking calmly. Suddenly a familiar voice rang out from behind. Yang. Was it my imagination?" Yang's steps faltered. She turned around and looked back. Chishan was standing under the sunlight, smiling gently at Yang. Under the sunlight, his eyes were as deep as the sea, shining like they had their own light. It wasn't an illusion. Yang gave a slight smile, her dimples barely showing on her cheeks. She walked quickly towards Chishan. "Brother Imo, it really is you. I thought I heard wrong." Chapter 303, A Very Important Person. _6. After almost 2 months apart, his wife seemed to have become more beautiful. The sight of her 2 shallow dimples made Chishan feel slightly dazed. "Brother Imo?" Yang waved her hand in front of his face. Chishan snapped back to reality, instinctively revealing his whereabouts. "I had to leave town on the 2nd day of the month and just returned yesterday. The trip was so rushed, I didn't have a chance to inform you." Yang nodded. "I was wondering why I hadn't seen you for such a long time." The two walked and talked, and in no time they arrived at the noodle restaurant. It was break time, so there were no clients lining up outside the noodle restaurant. Yang asked, "Brother Imo, have you eaten? Shall I cook noodles for you?" "Sure." Chishan nodded, "Thank you, Yang." Even with a full stomach, he still felt hungry for his wife's freshly cooked noodles. In just a little while Yang brought out the noodles. Chishan stood up to take the noodles, and in no time he finished a large bowl of noodles. Seeing him eat so quickly, Yang stood up and said, "Brother Imo, I'll cook another bowl for you." He must have been ravenous, otherwise he wouldn't have eaten so quickly. In truth, Chishan was overly stuffed. Only God knew that he had just eaten a steak. Had rather endure short-term pain, hence why he ate so quickly. Hearing this, Chishan immediately stood up and grabbed Yang's hand. "Yang, I'm full." Their hands touching sent a jolt through them. Chishan quickly pulled back. Yang Yang am really full. Seeing Ni Yang's relaxed demeanor, he too relaxed significantly. Yang Yang, when have I ever been reserved with you? By the way, my mother is hosting a tea party at home tomorrow, would you like to join us? Shout I misses you a lot. Shout I truly missed her. He too missed her. Mo Chishan had never felt so weak. His beloved was right in front of him, yet he dared not confess his feelings. He was already 28 years old. Ni Yang was only 18. He feared scaring Ni Yang. What scared him even more was the thought that he might not be deserving of Ni Yang. If he ended up frightening Ni Yang, they wouldn't even be able to maintain their friendship. At least right now, even if nothing else, they could still be friends. Ni Yang happily said, sure. She should be able to see Li Xianxian, who was essentially the approved granddaughter-in-law, at the Mo family's tea party. Anytime Li Xianxian was unhappy, she was happy. With that thought, Ni Yang unconsciously curled her lips into a smile. Yang Yang. Mo Chishan couldn't help blurting out. At this moment, thousands of voices in his heart were clamoring. Confess. Confess. If you can't even say I like you, are you even a man? Ni Yang lifted her eyes to look at Mo Chishan, her exquisite peach blossom eyes crystal clear. Seeing those crystal clear eyes, the confession Mo Chishan intended died on his lips. He said instead, Yang Yang, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning, okay? Ni Yang said, I'll wait for you at home. Mo Chishan maintained his calm demeanor after he spoke. However, he was already feeling utterly defeated inside. He really was useless. In order to show his best self in front of Ni Yang, Mo Chishan didn't return home in the afternoon but stayed behind to help at the noodle restaurant instead. Watching that busy figure inside the restaurant, Marcus and Morris sitting in the car thought they were going blind. It was one thing to have seen Mo Chishan pouring wine and handing out cigarettes to a bunch of workers at the noodle restaurant last time, but this time, why was he even doing menial work? Regardless of pursuing his wife, he shouldn't have to demean himself like this, right? After all, with his status clear to anyone who cared to look, he only needed to shed his disguise and countless wealthy young ladies would rush to swoon over him. When Ni Yang returned home in the evening, she spoke to Wang Tinyu about her intention to buy a shop. The renovation wasn't in a hurry and could wait until Wang Tinyu finished building the house. Wang Tinyu was known for his responsible work attitude. Ni Yang didn't wish to look for other construction teams. Upon hearing this, Wang Tinyu said, Yang Yang, thank you for trusting me so much. I have a cousin who's also a bricklayer, I can ask him if he could help you out? Wang Tianyu's cousin lived under harsh circumstances. He even borrowed 100 yuan from Wang Tinyu last December for the New Year celebrations. So Wang Tinyu wanted to give this opportunity to his cousin and help him out. Ni Yang nodded her head, sure, then please Uncle Tinyu communicate this to him for me. You're aware of the labor cost. If he has time he can start at any time. Okay. I'll visit him tonight. Thank you so much Yang Yang. Wang Tinyu exclaimed excitedly. Ni Yang replied with a smile, Uncle Tinyu, you've helped me so much, I should be the one thanking you. The next morning, Mo Chishan arrived timely on that bicycle to pick up Ni Yang. Ni Yang was still wearing the beige cheongsam from yesterday, with a dark blue coat over it. Dark blue was a picky color, but when worn by Ni Yang, it only highlighted her skin, fair and snowy, with lips as bright as oil rouge. Whether it was the brilliant red or the low-key beige, both colors were perfectly embodied by her, as if all the colors were created just for her. Brother Mo, let's go. Ni Yang got on the back seat of the bicycle, naturally placing her hand on Mo Chishan's waist. Seeing the hand on his waist, Mo Chishan's lips slightly curved. His otherwise empty heart was filled in an instant, and he inadvertently sped up his pedaling. In no time at all, they arrived at the Mo family villa. Since it was a tea party, many well-known young ladies and wealthy wives who had a good relationship with the Mo family were gathered in the villa's hall. As soon as Ni Yang stepped in, she was warmly greeted by Lady Mo and Mo Hudi. Yang Yang is here. Sister Ni Yang. With that, Mo Chishan, the biological son and nephew, was disregarded and left aside. Hearing the commotion, Li Xianxian, who was engaged in a conversation, lifted her head and looked over, only to catch sight of Ni Yang. Ni Yang. Why was it her again? Li Xianxian squinted her eyes and turned to look at Mo Baichuan only to find his gaze unconsciously drifting towards Ni Yang. This wouldn't do, she had to stop things from progressing like this. She needed to find a way to make the Mo family dislike Ni Yang. Otherwise, Mo Baichuan would eventually be snatched away by Ni Yang one day. Because at Grandmother Mo's birthday banquet last time, Ni Yang had worn a striking cheongsam, Everyone was impressed by her traditional yet fashionable dress. Subsequently, the high society started favoring the vintage style, and among the young ladies currently standing in the hall, the majority were wearing cheongsams. Originally, Li Xianxian was the one being praised and imitated by everyone since she was always at the forefront of fashion trends. Now that suddenly someone else was in that position, Li Xianxian felt a jumble of emotions in her heart and felt uncomfortable. Despite her feeling uncomfortable, Li Xianxian still warmly went up to Anai Yang and said softly, "Sister Yang Yang." Chapter 304. Defeating Li Xianxian, gaining little fangirls _1 Li Xianxian was still at the forefront of fashion today. She wore a black two-piece doll collar knitted blouse underneath, paired with a figure-hugging mini leather skirt, nude tights and topped with a pure white fur mini coats. It was a dazzling and beautiful outfit, but standing next to the understated elegance of a cheongsam, it seemed somewhat vulgar. Especially since Anai Yang was naturally a clothes horse with a good figure and exquisite facial features. Even with minimal makeup, her beauty was captivating. In fact, Li Xianxian was quite attractive herself, or else she wouldn't have caught Mrs. Mo's eye. Before Anai Yang appeared in the Mo family, she was definitely considered outstanding among the society ladies and young misses. But everything changed since Anai Yang made her appearance. Even the popular elements within their circle had changed. How is it that her trendy attire couldn't compare to the outdated cheongsam? A flash of jealousy swiftly passed through Li Xianxian's eyes, wishing she could scar Anai Yang's face. Anai Yang pretended not to see the look in Li Xianxian's eyes, holding Li Xianxian's hand. "Sister Xianxian." Li Xianxian was already acting very cordially, but Anai Yang was even more enthusiastic. To outsiders, the two of them seemed like close sisters. If it's acting, who couldn't? A smile danced in Anai Yang's eyes. Li Xianxian pulled Anai Yang to sit down on the sofa. "Yang Yang, we've known each other for so long, but I still don't know where you're from?" Anai Yang gave a small smile. "I'm from Dam Village in Haiqing City." Dam Village? A calculating glint surfaced in Li Xianxian's eyes. How honest of her. She's still young and naive. I will make sure she won't know what hit her. Dam Village. Li Xianxian acted as if she had discovered something astonishing. "So you really are from Dam Village, Yang Yang?" Anai Yang nodded, confusion flickering in her eyes, playing along with Li Xianxian. Soon she'd make Li Xianxian dig her own grave. "Sister Xianxian, do you know who I was before?" Li Xianxian smiled. "It's not that I know you, but one of my classmates saw you and felt like she knew you. However, she said your name was Mu Yang back then, so I wasn't sure." There was a hint of contemplating in Li Xianxian's voice as she trailed off. "Mu Yang?" Upon hearing this, both Mrs. Mo and Lin Pingping looked over in their direction. Anai Yang didn't deny it, her smile remained. "Yes, my last name used to be Mu." Everyone has a past, and Anai Yang wasn't someone who would cover up. Moreover, she hadn't done anything shameful. Li Xianxian hesitated. "I also heard from my classmate that your parents seem to have divorced?" "Yang Yang, couples quarrel all the time. No matter what, you can't just abandon the family. Go back and convince your mother, make her think clearly. You're still young and so is your sister, you can't go on without a father. In this era, getting a divorce isn't a good look. Divorced women are regarded with disdain. The Grand Mo family, how could they tolerate a granddaughter-in-law with such a stain?" Li Xianxian wanted Anai Yang to embarrass herself. She wanted everyone in the Mo family to dislike her. Moreover, Li Xianxian was painting Anai Tsuehua as a sinner, a woman who abandoned her husband and family. Isn't that why Anai Tsuehua and Anai Yang abandoned their family in Haiqing to come to Beijing? Upon hearing this, the expressions in the other's eyes changed. Like father like son, like mother like daughter. Can a bad woman raise a good daughter? Of course not. The tea party was meant for mingling and chatting. Who would have thought there would be so much drama? Anai Yang gave a slight smile, then turned to Li Xianxian. "My dad abused my mom and even had an affair. He even had an illegitimate child. Should we keep such a man and celebrate the new year with him?" Li Xianxian was stunned. She didn't expect Anai Yang to counterattack like this. Shouldn't Anai Yang be feeling ashamed and discomfited? Is divorcing something to be proud of? But that's okay. The more agitated Anai Yang becomes, the more she'll embarrass herself. Li Xianxian sighed, then continued. "Yang Yang, I think you're being too radical. As a child, you should try to look at things from your father's perspective, and understand why he sought other women. Long live understanding." Chapter 305. Defeats Li Xianxian, gains younger female fans understanding? Anai Yang's expression remained unchanged. "How do you think I should understand, Sister Xianxian?" Li Xianxian hesitated and continued. I heard it was because my aunt couldn't have a son, so my uncle sought someone else. We can't entirely blame my uncle. After all, a male child is the lifeline of a family. My uncle did wrong out of desperation for a son. No matter what, he is your father. As children, we should acknowledge our parents no matter what, even if they committed murder. Actually, Yang, I really envy you. Your parents are still together, unlike me. I don't even know what my parents look like. By the end of her sentence, Li Xiangxian's eyes had reddened. She made it seem like Yang was oblivious to her good fortune. At the same time, her words successfully painted Yang as an unfilial daughter who did not recognize her biological father. Mo Baichuan on the side took a sip of tea, the corner of his mouth twitching into a slight smile. He was interested in seeing how Yang would resolve this crisis. Li Xianxian was well educated, while Yang was merely a country girl. No matter how skillful Yang was in arguing, she couldn't beat Li Xianxian. Sister Xianxian, you're really noble, tolerating even something like this. Yang's expression was mild, and her lips held a faint smile, seemingly unperturbed by Li Xiangxian's words. Li Xianxian continued, actually this is not a big deal. Besides, we girls should obey our fathers when we're home and our husbands when we're married. At that time, China had only recently been freed. Many people still held this outdated submit to the father at home, and husband when married mentality. Gender equality was a thing of the future. Which married woman does not wish to have a son? Without a son, a woman lacked status in her husband's family. Of course, Li Xianxian, who came from the past, did not have these old-fashioned thoughts. The only reason she said these words was to please Grandma Mo. She was trying to show her virtuous and well-behaved side to Grandma Mo. In families like the Mo family that had a long legacy, these outdated ideas were more prevalent than in ordinary people. Yang smiled lightly, lifting her eyes to Li Xianxian. Then, I wish Sister Xianxian to marry a husband who is abusive, cheats in marriage and seeks other women to bear sons. Upon hearing this, Li Xiangxian's face changed. Yang, what do you mean by that? Was Yang jealous of her and therefore cursing her? Having experienced a rebirth, Li Xianxian attached great importance to these matters. She was afraid that Yang's curse would come true. Yang smiled faintly, there's no special meaning. I just want you to understand the saying, do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Li Xianxian was stunned for a moment, then her eyes reddened with grievance. Sorry Yang, I didn't mean that. I just think that divorce carries a bad reputation. Grandma Mo frowned slightly. She felt that Li Xianxian was a bit petty. Yang was just returning the favor, yet Li Xianxian acted as if she had been wronged. It was quite unbecoming. Yang asked with a smile, divorce has a bad reputation? What's wrong with divorce? Where there's oppression there are protests. Are we women naturally destined to be bullied? Those who don't fight back after being bullied aren't people, they're like doormats. Sister Xianxian, it's a new era now. We women must not stand still. We must respect ourselves, be independent and resilient, and not let anyone look down on us. On hearing this, the others also nodded in agreement. Why should women always be the ones being bullied? If they can't have a son, it's the woman's fault. If they are divorced, it's the woman who gets the blame? It's too unfair for women in this world. Especially Lin Pingping, who had experienced divorce. She knew the bitterness of it. Li Xianxian was just trying to show her virtuous and well-behaved side to Grandma Mo and Mo Baichuan. She didn't expect to cause public outrage. Her face took on an awkward color right then. Looking at Lin Pingping's face, Li Xiangxian's heart skipped a beat. She had forgotten about Lin Pingping. Lin Pingping was Grandma Mo's only niece. By saying divorce carries a bad reputation, wasn't she indirectly offending Grandma Mo? Li Xianxian hurriedly tried to rectify the situation, her eyes becoming even redder. Yang, you misunderstood me. I simply meant a family should have descendants and uncle only wanted a son. As his children, we cannot deny our own father. Chapter 306. Dominating Li Xianxian gaining little fangirls _3. Li Xianxian was a very timely person. She knew she had just spoken inappropriately, so she had now redirected the issue to Yang. Filial piety is a virtue, but Yang disowned her biological father. Could she be a good girl? In this era where males are valued over females, all she had to do was insist that Cuihua was unable to bear a son. So, if you can't bear a son yourself, won't you allow your husband to seek another woman to bear one? Li Xianxian never gossiped about others, but she was adept at speaking ambiguously, changing the subject and letting others fill in the blanks. She was a clever woman, so most of the time things would go the way she envisioned, but today the person standing before her was N.I. Yang. Could N.I. Yang make things go smoothly for Li Xianxian? N.I. Yang replied with a faint smile, Sister Xianxian, your enlightenment isn't high enough. The chairman has said that men and women are equal now. Why do you see only boys as the successors in your eyes? Aren't girls human too? According to your logic, if a woman can't have a son, the man should go and find other women. Wouldn't that mean that 80% of women have to endure their husband's infidelity? Moreover, Sister Xianxian, you're a college student, you should know that giving birth to boys or girls isn't something a girl can determine, right? The last sentence could be said to be every woman's sentiment. Because the gender of a child fundamentally doesn't depend on the woman. Similarly, this erroneous thought has harmed many people. Women are like fields while men are the seeds. The field only provides nutrients and moisture, and ultimately what crop grows depends on the seed. At these words, others around started to agree. Yes, Yang Yang is right. Yang Yang has spoken very well. Li Xianxian, being a woman yourself, how can you look down on women so much? N.I. Yang's eyes were filled with laughter, and shallow dimples appeared at the corners of her mouth. Sister Xianxian, in palatable terms, your thinking is praiseworthy while in reality, it's being ignorant. Hearing the accusing voices around her, the color gradually drained from Li Xianxian's face. She hadn't expected things to turn out this way. N.I. Yang was merely an unsophisticated village lass. Where did she get all this profound reason? Li Xianxian also came from the country. She knew too well the conditions there. Due to lack of transportation and inadequate education, there the men were prioritized and ignorance prevailed. Even Li Xianxian, before reincarnation, was just an ignorant country girl. How could N.I. Yang know such profound principles? She's behaving completely uncharacteristic of a village girl, rather like an educated intellectual. Could N.I. Yang have been this impressive when she was 18? Li Xianxian clenched her lips, beads of cold sweat trailed down her spine. What should she do? What should she do now? Lin Pingping, supporting Madame Mo's arm, had a pleased smile on her face. She knew that N.I. Yang wasn't someone to be trifled with. Calm and composed, articulate and clear, this child could tackle big situations. Madame Mo looked at N.I. Yang with satisfaction in her eyes. Turning her eyes to Li Xianxian, the layer of liking in Madame Mo's eyes had been replaced by disappointment. Mo Kishin's eyes were practically sparkling. How amazing was his wife! He liked his wife more and more. Yang, have some water. Mo Chishin passed a cup of tea to N.I. Yang. Thank you, brother Mo. N.I. Yang took the cup. This unexpected twist in front of him had completely overturned Mo Baichuan's opinion of N.I. Yang. Could it be that N.I. Yang wasn't purposely placed by someone near him to get closer to him? He wouldn't believe it. A little farmer girl who only graduated from junior high school, having such high enlightenment? Even knowing about gender equality? In order to get close to him, these people really had racked their brains. Mo Baichuan's eyes glinted dangerously as he drank his tea. Looking at Li Xianxian's distressed and sweaty appearance, N.I. Yang felt incredibly relaxed. She took a sip of tea and then grabbed Li Xianxian's hand. Sister Xianxian, the words I just said were only directed at the topic itself, not at you. Please don't be angry. Don't be angry? What was N.I. Yang implying? A slap and then a sweet date? But at this moment, Li Xianxian could only balk, swallowing her protest. Listening to you is better than studying for 10 years. Yang, you're absolutely right. How could I possibly be angry? N.I. Yang gave a small smile. I knew Sister Xianxian is magnanimous and wouldn't be mad at me. Chapter 307. Defeating Li Xianxian, gaining little fangirls _4. Li Xianxian managed to keep a smile on her face, though she was so angry that her fingertips were shaking. Oh! N.I. Yang exclaimed in surprise. Sister Xianxian, why is your hand shaking? She did it on purpose. N.I. Yang absolutely did it on purpose. As Li Xianxian looked up, she met N.I. Yang's peach blossom eyes overflowing with laughter. The corners of her mouth lifted in a faint dimple. It was blinding. N.I. Yang feigned concern. Sister Xianxian, are you not wearing enough clothes? Killing Li Xianxian would be easy. But N.I. Yang didn't want her to die so easily. Because boiling a frog in warm water was more fun. At that moment, old lady Mo spoke up. I think Xianxian is feeling unwell. Baichuan, you should take Xianxian to rest first. Old lady Mo was no fool. Could she not see through Li Xianxian's thoughts? Li Xianxian should take this opportunity to reflect on herself. Hearing this, Li Xianxian's face turned from slightly pale to ashen. Old lady Mo's words seemed caring on the surface, but they were, in reality, driving her away from the Mo family. Li Xianxian never imagined that things would turn out this way. The person who should have been driven out of the Mo family should have been Ni Yang. Why was it her? Though Li Xianxian was utterly unwilling, she had no choice but to maintain a decorous and graceful front. Any further fuss would only be counterproductive. Thank you for caring, Grandma. I do feel a bit of a headache. Then I will leave first. Li Xianxian rose to her feet, her face pale, her body shaky. It was pitiful to watch. Old Lady Mo nodded. Go. Baichuan rose to his feet, following Li Xianxian's steps. He took an extra glance at Ni Yang before leaving, but Ni Yang remained nonchalant about him helping Li Xianxian home. Baichuan curled his lips. She was playing quite the part. Once Li Xianxian left, the atmosphere lightened considerably. Everyone was chatting and laughing. These wealthy ladies were normal folks after all. With Ni Yang's vast experiences, it was effortless to communicate with them. She even gained a little admirer. The little admirer was Li Yanran, a 19-year-old freshman. She admired Ni Yang to the fullest. Yang, are you really from the countryside? Yanran asked curiously. Ni Yang knew she meant no harm and nodded with a smile. Yes. You are incredible. Yanran exclaimed excitedly. You have no idea how awful Li Xianxian's face looked just now. Initially, Yanran thought Ni Yang was just a beautiful face. She didn't expect such a powerful spirit concealed beneath that gorgeous surface. She was simply a role model for modern women. If the term goddess existed in this era, Ni Yang would undoubtedly be the unrivaled goddess in Yanran's heart. Ni Yang modestly touched her nose. I'm just average. Yanran clung to Ni Yang's arm. Yang, you're too humble. Let me tell you, I've been disliking Li Xianxian for a long time. She's sour, always tries to show off in public and acts differently behind our backs. She's so fake. And all she does is disgrace our Li family. Before Ni Yang could answer, Yanran continued, Yang, where do you live? Can I visit you in the future? Of course, Ni Yang wouldn't refuse a kind social invitation, and she nodded with a smile. Of course, I live at 58 Jinghua Village. Yanran said, we live in Wanqing Villa, Block 68. You should come and visit me when you have time as well. For the entire afternoon, Yanran stuck to Ni Yang. It was hard for Mo Qixin to even say a word to Ni Yang. Fortunately, Yanran was a girl. Otherwise, Mo Qixin would have thought Yanran was taking a liking to his wife. Only when the tea party finally ended and Yanran left was Mo Qixin able to chat with Ni Yang. After the tea party ended, Ni Yang bid old Lady Mo farewell, preparing to go home. The duty of sending Ni Yang home naturally fell on Mo Qixin. The same familiar bicycle. Ni Yang sat on the back seat, her lips curved in a faint smile, her dimples shallow. The setting sun stretched their shadows long. Brother Mo, stop at the vegetable market up ahead. I want to buy some groceries to take home. Okay. This was Mo Qixin's first time visiting the vegetable market. Although it was winter, the smell inside was less than pleasant. Mo Qixin was tall and lanky, with handsome features adorned with a touch of elegance. Standing in the bustling vegetable market, he attracted a lot of attention. Countless young women stole glances at him, their eyes gleaming with curiosity. Chapter 308. Defeating Li Xianxian, gaining little fangirls _5. Ni Yen walked up to a vegetable stall. Aunt Lu, could you please weigh 3 pounds of bean sprouts for me and then 3 pounds of kelp? The stall owner, upon looking up and seeing Mo Qixin standing next to Ni Yen, his eyes sparkled. Yang, is this your boyfriend? He's quite a looker. Boyfriend. Somehow, upon hearing these words, Mo Qixin's face flushed red, bubbling a pleasant feeling within him. Ni Yen gave a slight smile. Aunt Lu, you've misunderstood, he's not my boyfriend, just a good friend. The stall owner laughed. Yang, stop beating around the bush, look at how red this young man's face has become. Still saying he's not your boyfriend? Hearing this, Ni Yen decided not to explain any further. The more she explained, the more unclear it became. But why was Mo Qixin's face so red? As a grown man, his skin seemed too thin. Ni Yen then went with Mo Qixin to buy some beef, lamb and pork. She bought a lot, at least 3 pounds to start off with. Mo Qixin, intrigued, asked, Yang, can you finish all this? Ni Yen replied, I'm planning to go to Guangguan tomorrow, so I'm buying a bit more. It's inconvenient for my mom to go grocery shopping with the kids. Going to Guangguan? What time is your train? Mo Qixin asked next. Ni Yen shook her head. I haven't bought the train ticket yet. I'm not in a rush, I'll just get one tomorrow whenever it's available. Mo Qixin said, Train tickets to Guangguan are not easy to get. It just so happens that I have some matters to attend to there as well. I can accompany you. Guangguan is near the border and it's not safe for a young girl like you. Leave the train tickets to me, you'll get the ones for tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Guangguan indeed was in an unrest state with gangsters running rampant, and Ni Yen drawing attention due to her looks. Although he knew Ni Yen was well capable of defending herself, she was after all a girl. If anything were to happen, it would indeed be her at loss. Ni Yen quirked an eyebrow. Didn't you say train tickets are hard to get? Mo Chishan smilingly said, I happen to have a classmate who's a ticket seller. All right. Ni Yen nodded. Thank you then, brother Mo. You agreed, Yang? The sudden surprise caught Mo Chishan off guard. He had assumed that Ni Yen, given her personality, would certainly reject his offer. Ni Yen laughed. Why wouldn't I agree if I have a free bodyguard? She didn't dislike Mo Chishan, quite the contrary, she enjoyed the feeling of being with him. Life is short. If you like someone, why not accept their offer? Given a second life, Ni Yen did not want to compromise her happiness and satisfaction. Mo Chishan masked his excitement, responded, All right, I'll wait for you at the station tomorrow morning. Sure. Ni Yen nodded in agreement. After dropping Ni Yen off, Mo Chishan arrived at a building. Just as he arrived at the entrance, Morris and Marcus hurriedly greeted him. Sir, the plane tickets are booked. When do we depart? Walking while removing his windbreaker, Mo Chishan said, No longer going to F country, go book me 2 train tickets to Guangguan for tomorrow morning at 8. The assistant following behind immediately reached out to take the windbreaker from him. No more F country? Going to Guangguan? Taking the train? Did the boss get a fever? Morris and Marcus looked at each other, both seeing the doubt and confusion in the other's eyes. After a moment of thought, Mo Chishan added, Oh right, the tickets need to be for a soft sleeper berth, preferably side by side. Soft sleeper place? Isn't it always the plane when Mo Chishan travels? What on earth is a soft sleeper berth? After a bit, Morris finally asked, Sir, are you sure you no longer wish to go to F country? Your vineyard and castle wait there for you, needing your attention. No longer going. Mo Chishan unbuttoned his cuffs. Go buy the tickets right away. Could a vineyard and castle be more important than his darling? Of course not. All right, Morris said. The boss word is final. At this time, Ni Yen was in the kitchen cooking. In addition to the regular nourishing and beauty foods for the night, she also wanted to make a dish of boiled pork slices. After she had fried everything else, Ni Yen began preparing the boiled pork slices. The best tasting boiled pork slices are made with loin meat. Ni Yen had good knife skills. She cut the pork into evenly thick slices, then coated them with egg, flour, and left them to marinate for 10 minutes in a dish. While the pork was marinating, Ni Yen began to cook the base ingredients. Chapter 309, Defeating Li Xianxian, Gaining Little Fangirls _6. First, heat up the rapeseed oil, then add in the broad bean sauce to bring out the reddish oil, followed by a fragrant blend of green onion, ginger, garlic, star anise, cinnamon bark, and Sichuan pepper. Soon, the kitchen was filled with a tantalizing aroma. Once the base sauce was ready, add water and bring it to a boil. Add the marinated meat slices, then place the pre-boiled bean sprouts and tofu skin in a large bowl and ladle in the boiled meat slices. The meat slices should not be boiled for too long, otherwise they will become stiff and tough, which will affect the texture. Then, sprinkle roasted sesame seeds, green onions, cilantro, and Sichuan pepper on top of the meat slices. Finally, pour the heated rapeseed oil over it. With a sizzling sound, a large bowl of appetizing boiled meat slices was ready. Ni Yang could control the heat perfectly, so the texture of the boiled meat slices was superb. It had a spicy, fresh scent, and was incredibly tender. It was so good that one could hardly stop eating. With a piece of boiled meat slices, one could eat several mouthfuls of rice. Delicious, it's so delicious. Ni Chingue excitedly said, Yang, what is this dish called? Ni Yang replied with a smile, This is called boiled meat slices. Boiled meat slices? Where does this dish come from? Ni Chingue asked. Ni Yang replied, This is a dish from Sichuan and Chongqing. I saw it in a food recipe. Ni Chingue nodded, Yang, you are amazing. After dinner, Ni Yang told Ni Tsuehua that she was going to be out of town the next day. Ni Tsuehua expressed her concerns. Yang, is it safe for a girl like you to travel that far? Ni Chingue said, Yang, if you like, I can go with you. The shop will be fine with Jean, she has 2 others to help her. I heard that Guangguan can be quite chaotic. Guangguan is near our country, where it has always been rather turbulent, with a mix of different types of people and plenty of hooligans. And Yang smiled and said, "Don't worry. We are living in a society governed by law now, and besides I am not alone. Brother Mo is coming with me." Upon hearing that Mo Chishan would be accompanying her, Enai Tsuehua and Enai Chingre were immediately relieved. "When will you be back then?" Enai Tsuehua asked. Enai Yang answered, "It takes 2 days to travel from Beijing to Guangguan by train, and he'll need some time to run errands. All in all, it'll take about a week to return." Knowing that Enai Yang had important things to do, Enai Tsuehua did not say more and simply nodded. "All right, Yang, you can go without worries. Your auntie and I will take care of the home. Don't stay up late tonight, rest early. You'll need to get up early tomorrow." The next morning, Enai Yang woke up at a little past 5. By 7:30, when she arrived at the train station, she saw that Mo Chishan was already waiting for her on the platform with his suitcase. "Brother Mo." Mo Chishan raised his eyes and saw the girl running towards him. Yang, no need to run, we still have plenty of time." Mo Chishan extended his hand to steady Enai Yang's arm. "Shall we go into the station?" "Yes." Mo Chishan nodded and reached out to take her suitcase. The two of them walked side by side to the sleeper car. A sleeper car compartment had 4 beds. When Mo Chishan and Enai Yang entered, the 2 upper bunks were still unoccupied. Enai Yang stowed her suitcase under the bed, then took out some money from her bag. "Brother Mo, raise the money for the train ticket." Mo Chishan was about to refuse. After all, what's wrong with buying a train ticket for his future wife? All his money would be hers in the future anyway. But then Enai Yang continued, "Brother Mo, if you don't accept it, I want travel with you next time." Inherently, Enai Yang was never one to depend on men. Though it was true that she had feelings for Mo Chishan, never did she have the thought of relying on him. Upon hearing her words, Mo Chishan had no choice but to accept. Even though it was time for the train to depart, the 2 people who were supposed to occupy the upper bunks had not arrived. But Enai Yang didn't think much of it, maybe those 2 berths simply were not sold. After all, sleeper tickets were quite expensive. It was quite warm inside the car, and Enai Yang removed her jacket, revealing a loose-fitting white knitted sweater underneath. Despite the oversized fit, it couldn't hide her curvaceous figure, particularly when she bent over to adjust the blankets. Mo Chishan uncomfortably averted his gaze, his ears turning slightly red, and silently pulled the blanket over himself. "Brother Mo, do you want to eat something?" Enai Yang offered him a bag of sunflower seeds. Mo Chishan cleared his throat with a light cough. "No." Enai Yang then handed over a cup of milk tea. "Then have a cup of milk tea, your throat sounds a bit uncomfortable." The tips of Mo Chishan's ears went red again for an instant. He reached out to take the milk tea. "Thank you." Enai Yang chuckled lightly. "Brother Mo, when did you start being so polite to me?" Mo Chishan stopped talking, put the straw in and began to drink the milk tea. The cool milk tea soothed his throat, seemingly easing the heat in his heart. With Mo Chishan's company, the train journey was not boring at all. They chatted all the way until the afternoon when Enai Yang, leaning against the wall, yawned lazily. "I'm feeling a bit sleepy, Brother Mo, are you tired?" Her eyes were sparkling with a soft glint of water, making Mo Chishan's heart skip a beat. "I'm all right." Mo Chishan's voice was low. "You go ahead and sleep." Enai Yang crawled under the blanket. "I'll take a nap then." Before long, even breaths could be heard from under the blanket. When Enai Yang fell asleep, she also pulled her head under the blanket. Mo Chishan had once read a psychology book. The book stated that those who liked to sleep this way often lacked a sense of security. Mo Chishan pulled back the blanket and walked over to Enai Yang. He gently pulled back her blanket, revealing a face with exquisite features. Pretty girls, even their sleeping expressions are beautiful. Mo Chishan gazed at her attentively, reached out, and touched the thick eyelashes that looked like a fan. Yang, can I give you a sense of security from now on?" Enai Yang, who was in deep sleep, seemed to sense something and rubbed her eyes. Mo Chishan was startled and quickly jumped back onto the upper bunk. Seeing that Enai Yang didn't make any further movement, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. He truly liked her a lot. Just being with her, even if they did nothing, made his heart sweet as honey. Enai Yang slept until a little past 5 in the evening. When she woke up, Mo Chishan had bought some box meals back. Yang, now that you're awake, we can have dinner." "MHM." Enai Yang nodded. "I'll go wash my face first." It was nearing evening and the lights in the train's aisles were dim. When Enai Yang arrived at the lavatory, she bumped into a little girl. The girl's father, who was following behind, immediately apologized. I'm sorry, comrade. Mimi, quickly apologize to your sister. Chapter 310, Righteous Yang Mystery Boss Confession _1. The little girl, wearing a white shirt and denim overalls with red little leather shoes and 2 small braids, was quite eye-catching. Her large watery eyes were absolutely beautiful. Upon hearing this, she immediately bent over to apologize. I'm sorry, sister. I didn't mean to. And Yang bent down to pat the little girl's head, laughing as she said, It's all right. The father and daughter left the aisle and Yang turned into the restroom. The little girl whispered softly, Dad, that lady just now was so pretty. Even prettier than Mom. Shush. The man made a quiet gesture. Mimi, lower your voice. Be careful not to let your mother hear. The little girl quickly covered her mouth in response. The father and daughter moved towards the sleeping car. As they passed a tall, slender woman, her originally tired expression instantly brightened up. Adorable. This little girl was just so adorable. Not just adorable but pretty as well. The tall, slender woman reconsidered her path and headed into the compartment. Inside the compartment, various voices of snoring could be heard. The tall, thin woman slapped the sleeping man beside her. Wake up already, there's business to be had. At her words, the man immediately woke up. Where? How old? The tall, thin woman lowered her voice. She seems to be around 4 or 5 years old. We should keep a close eye. There were 3 types of boxed meals on the train. One was 3 cents per serving. Another was 8 cents. The last one was 2 yuan. The one that Immortality bought was 2 yuan, containing fried eggs, braised pork and braised fish cubes. Even though the meal was rich, perhaps because it was cooked in a large pot, the taste was not very good. Immortality could not eat more than a few bites, but Yang on the opposite side was eating very seriously. Every single bite, not a grain of rice was left. Yang had walked out of hard times. She knew the difficulty of obtaining food, so she held a sublime respect for the food. No matter when, she would not waste it. This feeling might only be understood by those who have experienced hunger. Seeing her like this, Immortality felt a twinge of guilt. He picked up his chopsticks again, finishing the rest of his boxed meal. After undergoing nearly 40 hours on the train, they finally arrived in Guangguan on the noontime of the 3rd day. Guangguan is a coastal city near Hong Kong and our country. Compared to the often bustling mainland, Guangguan had many skyscrapers, fashionable young people, and some even using pagers. At the same time, the temperature in Guangguan was much higher than in Beijing. The current temperature in Beijing was 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, needing a cotton-padded jacket and a coat. But on the streets of Guangguan, people were in short sleeves and jeans, wearing sunglasses as if it were still summer. At this time, the jeans trend had just come over from abroad, so every young person on the street was wearing jeans. Yang knew that the temperature in Guangguan was much higher than in Beijing, so when she got off the train she was particularly wearing just a thin knit sweater. But, unexpectedly, it still felt scorching. Yang, Immortality looked at Yang. Shall we look for a clothing store first? Yang nodded, sure. The two entered a clothing store they found. Yang didn't bother to choose. She randomly grabbed a set of clothes and headed to the changing room. However, when she came out of the changing room, Immortality was dazzled. At this moment, Immortality suddenly remembered a phrase. When a person is good-looking, they'll look good in anything, even a rag. A simple light pink top and a pair of black baggy pants brought out a unique charm on her. The shopkeeper immediately went to meet her. Miss, you look absolutely stunning in this outfit. Usually shopkeepers say things that are half-truths, but today she had not uttered a single false word. Throughout her time selling clothes, she had never seen such a beautiful girl. Yang smiled slightly. Thank you, how much is this set? 28 yuan. Yang took out the money and handed it to the shopkeeper. There were many factories in Guangguan, among them plenty produced non-woven fabrics. However, due to the large area of Guangguan, finding manufacturers that produced non-woven fabrics was a bit challenging. Although Yang had memories from her previous life, those memories were of her future experiences and it was the 1980s now after all. Immortality took out 2 pieces of paper. Yang, these 2 factories can produce non-woven fabric. Which one do you want to visit first? Yang took the paper. Let's go to the nearest one first then. Sure. Immortality nodded. Chapter 311. Yang's Heroic Act, Confession from the Mysterious Boss The two arrived at the factory, where they were greeted by a very enthusiastic middle-aged uncle. The minimum order from our factory is 300 yuan. Then there's the separate cost of the train transport. At this time, parcels could be sent via post, but it was slow, typically taking about a month. Therefore, anyone with urgent items usually relied on the train or freight trucks for transportation. The price wasn't expensive. Yang took a facial mask cut from a sheet of white paper out of her bag and asked, "Can you make a non-woven fabric in this shape?" The middle-aged uncle took the paper curiously. "What is this thing? Comrade, what is this used for?" Yang smiled lightly. "It's for your face." "For your face." The middle-aged uncle looked enlightened. "Oh, I see. These are the eyes, this is the nose, and this is the mouth, right?" "Yes." Yang nodded slightly. The middle-aged uncle was a very curious person. He put the paper on his face. "Comrade, what effect does this have when it's placed on the face?" Just as Yang was about to answer, a person entered the room, and upon seeing the middle-aged uncle looking that way, let out a frightful yell. "Ah! A ghost!" Guangguan people were rather superstitious. As soon as the middle-aged uncle heard the word ghost, his reaction was immediate. "Ah? Where's the ghost?" Upon hearing his reaction, the person breathed a sigh of relief. "Li Ku. Tiu. What are you doing with this on your face? You scared me." The middle-aged uncle turned to look at Yang. "Comrade, you haven't told me yet, what's the use of this on the face?" Not only was the middle-aged uncle curious, Mo Chishan was also curious. Yang didn't hide anything. She laughed and explained, "I plan to use it to make a skincare product, which after being manufactured, could be adhered to the face for skin maintenance." The concept of a facial mask only reached China in the 1990s, so it was normal for people to not know about it. The middle-aged uncle laughed. "Interesting, this is the first time I've seen such a skincare product." "Oh, Xiaochen, you came just in time. You work in the technical department. Can you check if our non-woven fabric can be made in this shape?" Xiaochen took the paper was in the shape of the mask and frowned slightly. "We may not be able to make this." The middle-aged uncle looked regretfully at Yang. "Comrade, why don't you check another factory?" Yang nodded. "I've troubled you." Watching Yang and Mo Chishan disappear through the door, the middle-aged uncle turned to Xiaochen. "With your technical department skills, you all can't make something as simple as this shape." Xiaochen replied, "It's not that we can't make it, it's just slightly more complex in terms of the process. We need to recast to make a new model. If there's a big order, it's okay, but for small orders we can hardly make any money because we can only break even. Factories prioritize profits. No one would generate power out of love for no reason." Yang only ordered a few hundreds worth, which was not even enough for the recasting cost. The middle-aged uncle nodded. As Yang and Mo Chishan walked out the door, they brushed past a man with a look of urgency on his face. He seemed a little familiar. But by the time Yang looked back, the man had already disappeared around the corner. The two visited 3 factories in one afternoon, and all 3 factories said they couldn't do it. Yang's brow furrowed slightly. This result was too different from what she had imagined. Mo Chishan comforted her. Yang, don't worry. Guangguan has many factories, and it's the birthplace of skincare products. We are sure to find a factory that can make facial masks." Yang nodded. "It's getting late. Shall we go eat something?" "Sure," Mo Chishan said. "I know there's a street with lots of food nearby. Shall we eat there?" "Okay." The food street was located in the center of Guangguan. Plastic cloth covered the large sheds overhead, illuminated by hanging lights. Many street food stalls had long lines. Noodles, 50 cents a bowl. Dumplings, 30 cents for a large bowl. Seafood fried noodles, teppanyaki squid, pot stickers. The cries of the vendors and the alluring scent of food filled their ears and noses. Yang looked at this dish, then at that one, unsure of what to eat. Mo Chishan suggested, "Guangguan is a coastal city, and seafood is their specialty product. Why don't we eat seafood?" Chapter 312, Righteous Yang, Mystery Boss Confession _3. In fact, Mo Chishan wanted to take Yang to a fancy restaurant, but he was afraid that she would feel distanced because of it. He wanted to get closer to Yang. As it turned out, compared to fancy restaurants, Yang preferred this place. "Great, I want teppanyaki squid." Teppanyaki squid is a common street snack in later times. Yang didn't expect that it was already available here in Guangguan during the 1980s. The two of them sat at a seafood stall, and besides teppanyaki squid, they ordered other seafood dishes. It was essential to accompany seafood with beer. At this time, Yanjing beer was the most popular. Actually, beer was already available as early as 1914. By the 1980s it was everywhere, not just in thriving cities like Guangguan but also in rural areas. and Yang turned to look at Emo Chishan. Brother Emo, do you want some beer? Emo Chishan raised his eyebrows in surprise. You drink? He had assumed that a beautiful girl like Yang would abstain from alcohol. Yang smiled. What, do I look like someone who doesn't drink? Not only did she drink, but she could also hold her liquor very well. No one achieves success easily. In her previous life, Yang, as NIS director, honed her drinking skills through banquets and social events, once setting a record of downing 2 pounds of liquor at once. However, that was in her past life. In this life, for her health, Yang hadn't touched alcohol since she was reborn. Emo Chishan spoke with a smile. Shall we get 2 bottles then? Soon the boss brought over 2 bottles of beer. Just as Emo Chishan was about to open the beer, he realized he didn't see any opener. Boss, could I get a bottle opener please? Before he could finish speaking, a hissing sound of opened beer came from across him, followed by Yang spitting out the beer cap from her mouth. In that instant, Emo Chishan saw his future standing in the household. Good heavens, that was a bit too bold. This slightly audacious action, when done by Yang, had an inexplicable charm about it. From biting the bottle cap to spitting it out, everything was done swiftly and fluidly. Emo Chishan had seen countless refined ladies from prestigious families, but he had never seen a girl as casual as Yang. She was clear-headed and genuine in her way of living. It seemed like nothing could hold her down. She was like a mysterious and tranquil orchid blooming in a valley. Brother Emo here. Yang handed Emo Chishan the beer she had just opened. At this moment, the boss brought the bottle opener, and upon seeing the scene he joked, "This young girl is really something." Yang modestly responded, "It's nothing much." Both of them were drinking beer and eating seafood, and in a while they had almost finished their meal. Yang had her arms crossed and was leaning against the back of the chair. She didn't feel like moving at all. It had been such a tiring day. Just then she felt something lightly poke into the middle of her hand. Yang looked back and saw what seemed like a family of 3 sitting at the next table. The man was big and tall, the woman was skinny and dark, and both of them dressed humbly. The 3 of them had only 1 dish and a soup on their table, and the man and woman were speaking in a dialect others couldn't understand. The little girl was wearing a semi-worn blue ant-colored coat, and a pair of ragged pants. Even though she had a dirty little face, her features were beautiful, with a pair of big teary eyes that looked familiar. The little girl was sitting to Yang's right, so it must have been her who teased Yang earlier. Yang nonchalantly steadied her vision again and pulled out the paper from her hand. Upon seeing it, she realized it was a small note. The note barely had anything written on it. All it had were 3 Arabic numbers, 995. Yang furrowed her brows slightly. Given the way 995 sounds, it might signify help me. Was the little girl asking for help? At this moment, Yang suddenly recalled that the little girl was none other than Mimi, the one she had accidentally bumped into on the train earlier. Even though her clothing differed, Yang hadn't forgotten her unique pair of eyes. Could Mimi have encountered human traffickers? Actually, human trafficking wasn't uncommon in the 1980s. The traffickers would lure women, kidnap children, sell them off, or even mutilate them to force them into begging. With no surveillance at that time and people being less security conscious, the victims targeted by the traffickers were easy to nab. Chapter 313. Righteous Yang Mystery Boss Confession _4. She could not help but recall her own past lives' experiences. If she were caught by human traffickers again, what awaited her would be similar to the torment of marrying a eunuch in her previous life, or even worse. This thought made Yang's heart tighten brutally. Brother Emo. Yang looked up at Emo Chishan. Emo Chishan looked up puzzlingly. Luckily, Yang always carried a pen with her. She wrote a sentence on a slip of paper and handed it to Emo Chishan. Emo Chishan read the note, his gaze flickering. He held Yang's hand to signal her not to act rashly. Human traffickers usually worked in groups and had an organized hierarchy. They couldn't simply be 1 or 2 people acting alone. There might even be their accomplices nearby. If they acted rashly, it could backfire. At this moment, the couple sitting behind them had finished paying their bill and were about to leave with the little girl. Yang suddenly stood up, took the little girl's hand and exclaimed in surprise, "Mimi! Isn't this Mimi?" The sequence of events happened too fast, leaving the little girl bewildered. Yang continued, "This silly girl am your aunt. Don't you recognize your aunt and your uncle? Who are these 2? Are they the nannies hired by your mother and father?" The tall and skinny woman yanked the girl back and retorted angrily, "Who are you? Have you mistaken us for someone else? Who's this Mimi you're talking about? This is my daughter Yaya. When did my niece become your daughter? And Yang's face changed. She scooped up the little girl and retorted, Are you a human trafficker? The little girl clung tightly to Yang's neck, fearing she would be snatched away by the tall and lean woman any moment. The commotion attracted some attention. The diners put down their chopsticks and crowded around. The skinny woman shrieked hysterically, This is my daughter Yaya. From a young age she has been mute and even has some IQ issues. You claim to be her aunt, so let her call you aunt and well see. Thief playing a cop. I say you're the real human trafficker. Somebody help, she's trying to kidnap my daughter. Every human trafficker retains a poker face and excels in bluffing. As long as they can convince the crowd, things will work out for them. After all, the child isn't able to speak, and the person abducting her from them is Yang. The one holding disparities will forever hold the advantage. That child really can't speak. Tsk, such a beautiful girl turns out to be a human trafficker. That's terrible. She even dares to kidnap children in broad daylight. Seeing the crowd being swayed, a burly man rolled up his sleeves. Brandishing a kitchen knife, he rushed forward aggressively. Damn human traffickers, how dare you try to kidnap my daughter? Watch as I chop you into pieces. Emo-chishin shielded Yang. With one hand he grabbed the burly man's arm. Simultaneously he kicked the burly man's knee. The severe pain forced the man to kneel on the ground. This is outrageous. How dare these human traffickers assault people in public? Is there no law and order left? Onlookers were extremely angry. Emo-chishin held the burly man's arm and looked at the crowd. These two are the real human traffickers. If you don't believe me, we can call the police. My wife and I will stay here until they arrive. I trust the police will give us justice. Real human traffickers would never suggest calling the police. A considerate bystander promptly rushed to report the incident. I'm going to the police station now, keep an eye on these two traffickers. Young man, you can take my bike. Seeing the situation turn against them, the tall and thin woman tried to sneak away. However, as she turned to leave, a hand detained her. A gentle voice came from above her. Feeling guilty? Yang was beautiful, especially her delicate peach blossom eyes. On any normal day, the tall thin woman would surely be captivated by Yang's allure. Such a catch was not easy to come by. But today all she felt was endless fear. The police arrived promptly, and as victims and suspects, the group was taken to the police station. The little girl clung to Yang's neck unwillingly to let go. After a doctor's diagnosis, it was found that the human traffickers had administered a large amount of forbidden drugs to the girl, causing her to lose her speech. Chapter 314. Righteous Yang Mystery Boss Confession Under 5. Besides that, the little girl had many fresh bruises on her body. The female doctor who was in charge of examining the little girl couldn't help but tear up. This is so horrible. These human traffickers are so dreadful. Little girl, does it hurt? The little girl bravely shook her head. Upon interrogation, the two human traffickers quickly confessed to their crimes. The little girl's parents also rushed over upon hearing the news. Mimi, are you all right? The couple bumbled into the room, utterly disheveled. Only those who have almost lost their child could truly understand the pain they felt. The little girl shook her head, her eyes brimming with sudden tears. Why did you take so long to come? Weren't you supposed to pick me up immediately? She had been too frightened earlier and had been forcing herself not to cry. Seeing her parents now was the only time she felt safe enough to let go of her control. The young woman took the little girl into her arms. I'm sorry Mimi, Mommy and Daddy are so sorry. The police officer at the scene said, as parents, you have to be more careful next time, especially in crowded places like railway stations. You should always keep your child within arm's reach. Now you must sincerely thank these two people. If it wasn't for their courageous actions, you probably wouldn't be able to see your child now. Thank you both. The couple exchanged a glance and immediately knelt down in front of Yang and Emo-chishin with their child. Thank you. Yang and Emo-chishin quickly helped the couple up. You don't need to do this. It was Mimi who was quick on her feet and clever enough to give us a note for help. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have realized something was wrong. Just then, the young man suddenly said, Aren't you the young man we met on the train? Yang nodded, Yes, it's me. Thank you so much for your help. The young man continued, My name is Han Shulin, this is my wife Lin Xiaoxue, and this is our daughter Han Mimi. The five of them left the police station, chatting among themselves. Lin Xiaoxue said, Young man, judging from your accents, I'm guessing you're not from Guangguan, right? And I Yang nodded, we came from Beijing. Lin Xiaoxue continued, you came all the way from Beijing. Are you planning to stay and develop here or are you just visiting? And I Yang said, we came here for some business. Lin Xiaoxue, being a warm-hearted person and considering that Ni Yang and Mo Qixin had saved her daughter's life, immediately said, business. Have you successfully handled your affairs? If you don't mind, you can tell us about it, maybe we can help a little. Han Shulin echoed, that's right. You're newcomers to Guangguan and we've been living here for decades. We know many people and can certainly handle matters more conveniently than you. No matter what it is, locals can always manage it more conveniently than outsiders. Ni Yang therefore didn't hide anything and briefly explained the situation to the couple. After listening to it, Han Shulin smiled and said, rest assured, this little matter, I've got it covered. Ni Yang looked at Han Shulin in surprise. Lin Xiaoxue explained, my husband is the manager of the non-woven fabric factory on Liufu Road. As a non-woven fabric factory manager, this matter would indeed be trivial for him. This was indeed a case of good actions are rewarded. So, the next day, Ni Yang and Mo Qixin met again with the middle-aged man surnamed Li. This time when they met, the middle-aged man was even more enthusiastic than before. Come in and have a seat. If you had told me earlier that you knew Manager Han, none of this would have happened. Ni Yang smiled lightly and sat down with Mo Qixin. Ni Yang knew very well that the reason no factory was willing to take on the job before was because the quantity of face masks she ordered was small. The cost of the non-woven fabric was low, and only a small amount was needed for each face mask. A few hundred yuan would be enough to make several thousand masks. With a small quantity, the profit was small. The profit was small, but the time spent on the initial setup was significant, which was why no factory was willing to accept the order. But Ni Yang was confident that neither the factory nor Han Shulin would regret taking this order. Because once the face mask gained popularity, the sales would not be as simple as just a few thousand. After a successful contract signing, Ni Yang and Mo Qixin bought tickets for the 7 p.m. train that evening. Chapter 315, Righteous Yang Yang Mystery Boss Confession _6. With half a day left, Ni Yang wanted to stroll around the streets and pick up some local specialties to take back home. Water chestnut cake and pineapple cake were specialties of Guangguan. There were also many fruits not available in Beijing such as durian, dragon fruit and wax apples. Ni Yang bought a bit of each as well as a giant durian. Durian was known to have a really strong smell, but the taste was genuinely good. Seeing Ni Yang buying so much, Mo Qixin also bought a lot of things. That night, Han Shulin and Lin Xiaoxue, holding their daughter Mimi, came to the train station to see them off. Ni Yang and Mo Qixin waved goodbye to the family of three. Brother Han, sister-in-law Han, you must come to Beijing to play when you get the chance. Sure. We will certainly disturb you when we do. Goodbye, Sister Yang Yang. Goodbye, Mimi. By the time they returned to Beijing, it was a little after 8 at night. The temperature in Beijing was more than 20 degrees lower than Guangguan. As soon as they got off the train, Ni Yang wrapped herself tightly in her down jacket. Though they were walking side by side on the street, not talking, the atmosphere was not awkward at all. The night always seemed to make people more impulsive. Mo Qixin found his heart fluttering like a scared deer as he looked at Ni Yang's profile. They seemed to have grown closer during this Guangguan trip, but also not at all. He felt he couldn't wait any longer. If he continued to wait, what if someone else beat him to it? Engrossed in his thoughts, Mo Qixin didn't notice the stone on the road and stumbled, almost falling over. Be careful, brother Mo. Ni Yang quickly reached out to steady him. Thank you, Yang Yang. The dim light of night hid Mo Qixin's blush. They slowly walked and quickly arrived at the noodle restaurant. Ni Yang opened the door and wheeled her bicycle out. Yang Yang. Mo Qixin softly called out, his voice resonating clearly in the quiet night. Oh? Ni Yang looked up, her bright eyes sparkling in the dark. Yang Yang, Mo Qixin's palms started to sweat. The usually articulate Mo Qixin suddenly found himself at a loss for words. What is it? Ni Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. Mo Qixin found that he wasn't just at a loss for words, he was also stuttering. Brother Mo, don't be nervous. I want bite, what are you afraid of? Ni Yang chuckled, her dimples showing as she slowly approached Mo Qixin. Mo Qixin stepped backward, tension mounting, until he was pressed against a sturdy wall. This situation was a common scene in the arrogant CEO's TV dramas. Ni Yang didn't expect it to happen to her that day. And it was her who had cornered Emo Chishin. Wasn't Emo Kishin's reaction too cute? Looking at his reaction, he wasn't like a 28-year-old man at all, but rather like an 18-year-old naive boy. Did she just get herself a treasure? Yang. Emo Chishin suddenly found it hard to meet Yang gaze. He was so nervous. What should he do? What if he couldn't breathe? At this moment, Emo Kishin's usual calm, self-composed demeanor seemed to have completely vanished. Yang looked at him with a smile. Brother Emo, if you have something to say, just say it. Hesitating is not a man's style. Right. He was a man. Emo Chishin gritted his teeth, closed his eyes and stood his ground. It was time to be brave and take a leap. Yang, he said, his voice lowering, like you. At that moment even Yang could hear her own heartbeat. She couldn't resist teasing him. Brother Emo, I didn't hear what you said. Emo Chishin was so nervous he didn't dare say it a second time. Yang frowned slightly. Brother Emo, did you just say you hate me? No. Emo Chishin turned white with anxiety. Yang, you heard wrong. How could I hate you? Then what did you say just now? He had already said it once, so why couldn't he say it again? Worst comes to worst, he could take another hit. Emo Chishin took a deep breath and loudly said, Yang, I like you. I want you to be my girlfriend. After saying this, Emo Chishin watched Yang intently. He had never been so nervous in his life. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. If cold stones could be warmed, what about human hearts? Moreover, Yang's heart wasn't made of stone. She was very sure that she also liked Emo Chishin. Perhaps she had fallen for him at first sight when they met by the river. Perhaps she was moved by Emo Kishin's continuous companionship over time. Plus, Emo Chishin was so handsome. If they did become a couple, she definitely wouldn't lose out. Brother Emo, Yang looked up at Emo Chishin. I think, I kind of like you too. For a moment, Emo Chishin thought he was hallucinating, but then he picked Yang up and began turning in circles joyously. If he had wings, he felt he would fly all the way up to the clouds. Sweetheart. I really like you. Yang responded flatly. Put me down, I just said I kind of like you. How did I become your sweetheart all of a sudden? This man was really quite shameless. Emo Chishin held Yang tightly and wouldn't let go. The great literature master from Y Country, Shakespeare, once said, dating without the intention of marriage is fooling around. So, if you're not my sweetheart, whose sweetheart could you be? Are you trying to fool around with me? Yang patted his face with her hand. Could you get a hold of yourself, please? I just said I like you, not that I want to be in a relationship with you. Right now, you're still being audited. Whether you could pass depends on your performance. Emo Chishin shamelessly remarked, Sweetheart, your hand smells so good. Yang, she had to stop, he was simply not getting it. Emo Chishin tightened his hold, then asked, Sweetheart, so what do I need to do to pass? Depends on your performance. Emo Chishin immediately responded, Sweetheart, don't worry, I'll surely perform very well. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. If you say go east, I'll never go west. I'll go wherever you point. Nothing will stop me, not even climbing a mountain of knives or plunging into a sea of flames. Then put me down first. Emo Chishin hesitated a bit but then finally let go. Yang teasingly raised her eyebrows. Brother Emo, this isn't your first time dating, is it? Emo Chishin nodded. It's the first and also the last. Sweetheart, from now on all my first times will be yours. The first time he fell in love at first sight. The first time he liked someone. The first time he was so desperate to marry someone and cherish her as his treasure for the rest of his life. Before meeting Yang, Emo Chishin didn't even know what it meant to like someone. Chapter 316, I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you underswan. Yen stared at him. Don't call me wifey. Emo Chishin scratched his head. Then what should I call you? Lady? Darling? Beloved? What? These don't seem to sound as nice as wifey, right? Yen interrupted his imagination. Call me whatever you used to. Okay, wifey. Emo Chishin quickly nodded. I will listen to wifey. Yen. Emo Chishin then said, Wifey, when can I officially become your other half? Yen replied indifferently, Once you've changed how you address me, I'll consider it. Hearing this, Emo Chishin didn't dare to tease her anymore. Yang, can I officially become your other half now? Yen replied with a smile, I can consider it now. Emo Chishin, women's mouths can't trust a word they say. Emo Chishin sneakily reached for Yen's hand. Yang, can I hold your hand? Yen squeezed his hand. Aren't you holding it now? Emo Chishin curled his lips in satisfaction. a smile of pure contentment on his face. So happy. So content. With their hands locked together, they walked leisurely on the desolate streets, the frosty moonlight casting a silvery glow on them. Both of them, without any romantic experience, strolled hand in hand from one end of the street to the other. They made a trip up and down the normally 1-hour-long street as though it only took moments. Time seems to fly when one is with the person they love. Once they reached the noodle restaurant again and Yen stopped. "Brother Emo, it's late. You should head home now." Emo Chishin reluctantly halted. He still hadn't had enough of holding his wifey's hand. He wished he could stay glued to his wifey all the time. And Yen smiled. "Please hurry back. Remember what you promised me earlier." Reminded of his earlier promise, Emo Chishin reluctantly let go of Yen's hand. "Yang, should I walk you home?" And Yen said, "It's nearly 11 now. If you walk me home you'll be really late. Besides, I rode here myself. Go on home, it'll be fine." And Yen is not a person of pretensions. In the middle of the night, she didn't want to trouble Emo Chishin. Emo Chishin pushed the bike. "Let me take you home. I don't have anything planned for tomorrow morning, and it's not safe for a girl to be out alone at this hour." Seeing Emo Chishin insist, and Yen gave in. She leaned in and sat on the back seat. "Brother Emo, let's go." Emo Chishin held the bike, not moving. And Yen asked doubtfully, "Brother Emo, aren't we going?" Emo Chishin responded, Yang, come sit in front." The Phoenix brand bike from the 80s has a large rack in the front that can accommodate a person. But because sitting at the front requires a somewhat intimate position, typically only couples adopt this seating. Before they were in a relationship, Emo Chishin was too shy to let Yen sit in front, but things were different now. Yen was also sitting on a bike rack for the first time. She was surrounded by a masculine aura, with warm breath whispering around her neck. This felt wonderful, leading to a faint blush creeping up her ears. Although the girl in front is already his wifey, Emo Chishin was still nervous. Thankfully it was winter and they were both bundled up. Otherwise Yen would definitely have noticed his discomfort. Emo Chishin tightly gripped the bike's handle, his sturdy arms enveloping Yen. His steady heartbeat echoed from behind, providing a sense of absolute security. Yen's hair fluttered onto Emo Chishin's face in the breeze. It was soft and silky like prime satin. A faint, fragrant scent wrapped around his nose. The hazy night enveloped them as Emo Chishin leaned forward slightly, all but surrounding her. To enjoy their time together more, Emo Chishin deliberately slowed down. However, they soon arrived at Jianghu village. Emo Chishin was slightly annoyed. Why did the time pass so quickly tonight? Yen jumped from the bike. "Brother Emo, you should go home now. It'll help you push the bike into the courtyard." Yen laughed. "Take the bike and ride home. From the city to Jianghu village is more than 10 kilometers. She can't possibly let Emo Chishin walk home." Emo Chishin responded, "If I ride home, how will you get to the city tomorrow morning?" "I can take the tram." Chapter 317. I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you understand. Emo Chishin's thoughts took a turn. "He'll pick you up tomorrow at my place." Yang nodded and picked up her gift from the car. "That works, take care on the road, brother Emo." "All right," Emo Chishin replied. He watched Yang walk into the yard and close the door. Only then did he turn the car around and drive back. At this moment he could no longer hide the elation in his heart. He quickly stepped on the pedal, his feet moving like they were under motor power, almost making the car fly. He felt so happy, so excited. At that moment, Emo Chishin felt an insurmountable energy. Even if there were mountains ahead he could move them. Ah! So happy. Emo Chishin even let go of the handlebars, opened his arms wide and made a flying motion. He was as excited as a child. It was a good thing that he was on an empty street. Otherwise, with such a noise, he would have been scolded by others. Only with the cover of late night, Emo Chishin dared to act so wildly. Emo Chishin shouted several times, unable to satisfy his excitement. He even had body movements. He was like a crazy drunkard with no formality to speak of. Not far away, a luxury car was parked. There were 2 people seated in the front row. These 2 were none other than Morris and Marcus. Morris looked at his watch, puzzled, and asked, "Marcus, did you get the time wrong? Is Mr. Mogg really coming back today?" Marcus replied, "Mr. Mogg called yesterday afternoon and told me he'd be back tonight. How could I hear it wrong?" Just then Morris, who was in the driver's seat, suddenly sat upright, pointed at something to Marcus and said with some horror, "Is that Mr. Mogg over there?" Marcus looked forward nonplussed. What a joke. You must be kidding. That man raving on the street in the middle of the night must have just come from a mental hospital. There Mr. Mogg always maintained a cool demeanor, even when dealing with contracts with numerous digits, he never showed any change in expression. How could he possibly behave like this? Morris scratched his head. What you said makes some sense. Although from a distance the man looked like Mr. Mogg, his behavior was more like a madman. Mr. Mogg is usually gentle and noble, how could he go crazy like this? However, as the so-called madman got closer and closer, Morris' expression became more and more horrifying. Morris grabbed Marcus' sleeve again. That's Mr. Mogg. What could have happened to Mr. Mogg on his trip to make him behave like this? Now even Marcus was dumbfounded. Could he take back what he just said? Realizing that this madman was indeed Mo Chishan, they both got out of the car. At the same time, Mo Chishan noticed a familiar license plate. He instantly put away his silly smile, and maintained a cold and restrained demeanor again, going back to his original appearance. Marcus, stop pretending we saw everything. Mr. Mogg, greeted Morris and Marcus respectfully. Mo Chishan vomited 3 words, a mysterious shadow covering him in the moonlight, back to the manor. Yes. Marcus immediately took his bike. Mo Chishan leaned back into the car, Marcus pedaling after the luxury car. As he pedaled, Marcus noticed that something was off. Under the moonlight, Marcus realized this wasn't his boss' car at all. On this side, Yang had just opened the door to the yard when the lights inside came on. The dim light lit up the small path in the yard. Yang felt warmth in her heart as she saw Tsuehua, who had put on a coat, come out from inside. Yang. Mom? Yang, come inside quickly. Tsuehua took the suitcase from Yang's hands. Are you hungry? Mom kept some food for you. Mom, how did you know that I would come back tonight? There was no phone at home, and to take a phone call they had to go to the village. To avoid the hassle for Tsuehua, Yang didn't call home at all. Tsuehua replied, when you left, you said you would come back in about a week, so I thought you should be back by now. When a child goes on a long journey, a mother worries. Ever since the day Yang left, Tsuehua had been counting the days at home, hoping for her return. Every time they ate, she set aside a portion specially for Yang, so that she wouldn't be hungry when she came back. Chapter 318, I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you _3. Being together every day, Yang and her mother Tsuehua didn't think much about it. However, on the day Yang suddenly left, Tsuehua felt out of sorts everywhere. Now that she saw Yang return safely, a big load was finally off Qihua's shoulders. As the mother and daughter entered the living room, they heard little Yun in the inner room call out sweetly, Sis. A 9-month-old baby couldn't talk much yet. The only words she could say were mama and sis. Yang was startled and asked in surprise, Yun isn't asleep yet? Tsuehua replied with a smile, she was still sleeping when I got up, she probably just woke up. He'll go check on Yun. Yang swiftly made her way into the room. Tsuehua went into the kitchen to serve Yang dinner. In the room, little Yun, wearing her autumn clothes, had already crawled over the blanket. Seeing Yang come in, she laughed happily, Sis. Little Yun, did you miss Sis? Yang picked up little Yun. Little Yun couldn't talk yet, she just shouted excitedly, Sis. Sis. Yang gave little Yun's small face a big kiss. The temperature was low at night, Yang was afraid that little Yun would get cold, so she quickly put her back under the blanket. Yun can't crawl outside the blanket, otherwise Sis will spank. Little Yun held Yang's hand, babbling away, who knows what she was saying. Yang looked at little Yun's side profile, the corner of her mouth revealing a slight smile. In her previous life she came to the realization too late and let this little sister fall into the jaws of a wolf. This time she'll protect her no matter what. And the 3 other sisters who got thrown away, she wondered if they were still amongst the living. For some time Yang was lost in thought. At that moment, Tsuehua came in with a bowl saying, Yang, stop playing with Yun and eat. Yang nodded, standing up to take the bowl from Qihua's hands. The bowl was only half filled with rice, but the meat and vegetables were piled high. There were braised pork, crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, roasted chicken leg and stir-fried mushrooms. Tsuehua said, Yang, Uncle Tinu brought this rooster this morning while he was working. I said I didn't want it, but he insisted on leaving it. Quickly taste the chicken your mom roasted and see if it's good. I roasted it the way you usually do. Yang hurriedly picked up the chicken leg and tasted it. The meat was firm, crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Oil flowed in her mouth with every bite. Delicious. Mom, the chicken you roasted is way better than the one I can do. Suehua laughed. You know how to make your mom happy. How can the chicken I roasted be better than yours? Mom, it's really very good. Suehua said, if it's good, eat more. There's still some in the pot. I'll get more for you when you're done. Yang was eating and said with food in her mouth, I'll be full after this bowl, I'll eat the rest tomorrow morning. Suehua said, you're full already? Look how thin you are, you could be blown away by the wind. You need to eat more. People in the 80s generally idolized being fat. For one, being fat displayed a wealthy household, and two, the older generation saw fat as a representation of good fortune. There's a compliment for people that goes like this: look at that girl, she's so fortunate. The deeper the fortune, the fatter one is. Fat girls were very popular. By the time dinner was done, it was already past midnight. After a quick hot shower, Yang went straight to bed. She slept well throughout the night. The next morning, after Yang got ready and opened the courtyard door, she saw Emo Chishan waiting for her on his bike. Brother Emo, why are you here so early? I just got here too. Emo Chishan touched his nose. Shall we go now? In fact, Emo Chishan was so excited the night before that he couldn't sleep. As soon as dawn broke, he came here, he just didn't knock on the door. Yang said, you must not have eaten breakfast this early, right? I made pan-fried dumplings this morning. I'll get you some. After saying this, Yang turned around to head to the kitchen. Soon she came back with a food box in hand. The pan-fried dumplings were filled with sour radish and pork. It was appetizing and refreshing, with the taste of pork bursting in every bite. They were delicious. Emo Chishan ate more than 10 dumplings in one go. Yang, your dumplings are so good. I've never had such good dumplings. Yang raised an eyebrow slightly. My mom made these. Emo Chishan. Then our mom is really skilled. Chapter 319. I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you _4. Yang stuffed the last dumpling into his mouth. Enough chit-chat. After finishing the dumplings, Yang returned the lunchbox, got into the car, and went to the city with Emo Chishan. Emo Chishan, with one hand on the steering wheel and the other secretly slipped around Yang's waist, rested his chin on her shoulder, and gently sniffed the fragrance of her hair. The usually noisy bird chirps now seemed pleasant to his ears. Yang did not reject such affection and laughed. Brother Emo, can you ride the car properly? Can you do it with one hand? Men hate being questioned if they could or not. Emo Chishan immediately let go of his other hand. Even if I don't hold it with both hands, I can still control the direction well. Yang, look how awesome am I? Yang nodded in agreement. Awesome, you are way too awesome. Emo Chishan looked at Yang's side profile as white as jade, and had a sudden urge to kiss her. But while he had the intent, he lacked the courage. Emo Chishan suppressed the urge in his heart. The car was neither too fast nor too slow and soon arrived on the bustling street. A jeep raced past them. The man driving the jeep had an icy expression on his face. Emo Baichuan pursed his lips, his eyes filled with stormy rage. The next corner. Screech! The sharp sound of a sudden brake rang out, and Emo Baichuan pounded the steering wheel fiercely with his fists. A few seconds later, his face began to soften gradually. No, he couldn't. If he got angry, wouldn't he fall into Yang's trap? He must stay calm and expose the mask on Yang's face himself. Several minutes later, Emo Baichuan restarted the engine and drove away. When Yang and Emo Baichuan arrived at the noodle restaurant and milk tea shop, the other 6 people had already gathered. It had been a few days and everyone was missing Yang dearly. Of course, Yang didn't come empty-handed. Yang distributed a bit of water chestnut cake and pineapple cake she brought back from Guangguan to everyone. At this time, pastries were a desirable thing. Ordinary families would only buy some during the new year. Yang, you're too kind. You thought of bringing gifts for us all the way back from Guangguan? Yang, was Guangguan fun? How different is it from here? Yang explained with a smile. Actually, there isn't much difference, just that the temperature is a bit higher than here. They are already wearing short sleeves in Guangguan. People of this era who generally lacked education and were not familiar with latitude and temperature difference found Yang's words astonishing. Really? Really? Yang nodded and explained the temperature difference to them. She spoke confidently, her conversation peppered with professional terms and concepts, and even some professional explanations were not as accurate as hers. Watching her on the side, Mo Kishin's gaze gradually grew fascinated. How incredibly competent is his wife. It didn't take long for 6 o'clock to come around, and the noodle restaurant and milk tea shop opened for business right on time. Mo Kishin helped Enai Yang around the shop. The way the two interacted was the same as usual but also a bit different. Anyone with a discerning eye could sense the subtle changes between the two. The 6 people in the shop obviously had an inkling. During lunch break, Enai Yang sat at the dining table, sipped her milk tea and asked, "Brother Mo, can you contact your good friend Wu Daming now?" "Yes." Mo Chishin nodded. "Yang, do you need something from him? Isn't he dealing with imported machinery? I want to ask him if he can get sterile equipment." Enai Yang wanted to expand her skincare products, and for that she needed to set up a sterile production room for machine integration, where each skincare product would be produced. The current small-scale operation is definitely not enough. Mo Chishin responded, "Okay, I'll ask him for you later." "Thank you, Brother Mo. Why are you being formal with me? By the way, I have to take a long trip tomorrow and it might take a while before I can return. If there is sterile equipment available, I'll have Wu Daming deliver it directly." Enai Yang nodded. "Actually, I'm not in a hurry. It will take a while for the house to be built." Mo Chishin suddenly voiced his grievances. Yang, don't you want to ask where I'm going and when I'll be back?" Enai Yang patted him on the head like patting a big dog. "So, where are you going? When will you be back?" Chapter 320, I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you under. I need to go to F country. The specific return time is not yet fixed, but I promise to return as soon as possible so as not to worry you. Initially, Mo Chishin planned to visit F country before going to Guangguan, but he cancelled the trip to accompany Enai Yang to Guangguan. Unexpectedly, after returning, he still had to take a trip to F country. With such an outstanding wife, he couldn't afford to remain stationary. He had to strive for a more brilliant future for his wife, ensuring that she wouldn't be undermined anywhere she went. Since he was departing for F country tomorrow, Mo Chishin spent the whole day with Enai Yang. It was not until past 6 in the evening at Enai Yang's insistence that he reluctantly left the noodle restaurant. After the noodle restaurant closed, Enai Yang took a trip to the vegetable market. "Miss, would you like to buy some flowers?" Enai Yang turned her gaze to meet a pair of lively eyes. It was a girl of about 10 years old with beautiful eyes. Regrettably, there was a deep scar on her left face that disrupted her overall beauty. She wore a patchy flowery cotton jacket of blue and red, her hair was all over the place and her small face was dirty. In her hand she held a large bunch of red camellia flowers. "Big sister, could you buy a flower please?" The girl timidly tugged at Enai Yang's coat, her eyes pleading. Before Enai Yang could react, the owner of the braised pork shop came out looking stern and chased the girl away. "Scram! Off you go." The girl, seeing the shopkeeper, immediately took off running. The owner of the braised pork shop was well acquainted with Enai Yang and turned to her. Yang, don't be fooled by this little rascal. This child is a well-known con artist around here, pretending to be pitiful and deceiving people. Her parents are deadbeats and she's just like them. Not a decent one among them. Don't let her outward appearance deceive you, her family is actually quite well off. They eat well, drink well and still scam people everywhere. Hearing this, some people nearby chimed in. Yes, I've been duped by her as well. I was also conned by her. This kind of scam, exploiting children, is quite common in later generations. Enai Yang listened without much thought. After buying some vegetables, she started pushing her cart away. At this moment, someone tugged at her coat again. When Enai Yang looked back, it was the same girl. "Big sister, could you please buy a flower?" The girl lifted up the flowers, looking at Enai Yang with a face full of longing. Enai Yang leaned over slightly. "Where are your parents, little girl?" Possibly aware of what people in the market had said to Enai Yang, the girl quickly explained, "Big sister, I'm not a scammer. Today I haven't sold a single flower. If I go home like this, my parents will surely beat me to death. Could you please buy a flower?" By the end of her pleas, she was sounding close to tears. "How much is one flower?" "1 cent. At this time, vegetables were selling for 3 cents per jean, half a kilogram, yet an ordinary camellia flower was priced at 1 cent each. Only a fool would buy it. The girl had sized up Enai Yang as someone kind-hearted and good-looking, so she dared to ask for a high price. Enai Yang looked at her, and even though she knew the girl was a swindler, she couldn't harden her heart to refuse. "Little girl, how many flowers do you have here?" "I'll take them all." "Really?" The girl's eyes lit up. Enai Yang nodded. The girl counted the flowers in her hand, then said, Big sister, I have exactly 21 flowers, are you really going to buy them all? Yes. And Yang took out 2 1-cent coins and handed them to the girl. The girl hesitated for a moment, her gaze falling on the bag hanging from the cart handle. She swallowed. Big sister, I'll take your 2 cents, but could I trade the remaining 1 cent for a pancake? And Yang removed the bag. You can have all of these and the money as well. Thank you, big sister. The girl took the bag, bowed towards Yang. May you have peace all your life. After saying this, she turned and ran off into the alley. The fact that the girl knew to bow and give thanks indicated that she was not inherently bad. And Yang wondered what kind of parents she had as she watched the girl's retreating figure, her eyes narrowing slightly. Once the girl was back in the alley, she took out a pancake and started eating ravenously. In less than a minute, she had finished 1 pancake. Though her stomach was barely half full, she couldn't bear to eat the remaining pancake. Looking around and seeing no one, she walked over to the edge of the alley. She took a brick from the wall and cautiously hid the pancake and a 5-cent coin inside the wall. After hiding her precious stash, she carefully put the brick back in place. Chapter 321, I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you_6. The generous sister had given her 2 yuan today. Normally she could only manage to save 1 or 2 cents. She would keep the remaining 60 cents to account for when she got back. The little girl was named Chen Zhaodi. The name Zhaodi, as the name suggests, was given because the adults in her family wanted to raise a boy. After safely stashing away the money, Chen Zhaodi dragged her frail steps back home. As she passed a small puddle, she carefully washed her face and thoughtfully she slurped up some water to rinse her mouth. She couldn't let her parents know that she had snuck a bite. Chen Zhaodi stopped in front of a brick house with a shining light, took a deep breath and went in. The light inside the house was warm and you could hear such dialogue. Son, eat more meat. You can grow taller by eating more meat. Meat. Chen Zhaodi couldn't help but lick her lips. She couldn't even remember the last time she had meat. But the little boy in the house protested, I don't want to eat meat. I want to eat chicken legs, I want to eat braised chicken legs. The gentle female voice soothed, Son, Mom didn't buy any chicken today. I'll make you braised chicken tomorrow, okay? Just have 1 bite today, be a good boy. No. Chen Zhaodi walked into the room. The room fell silent. The little boy at the head of the table glanced at Chen Zhaodi in a threatening manner. This little boy was Chen Zhaodi's younger brother, Chen Wangkai. The woman sitting on Chen Wangkai's left was the mistress of this house, Zhao Xiaoxi. The man sitting to the right of Chen Wangkai was the master of this house, Chen Xingqian. Worthless girl, you're finally back. Where's the money? Zhao Xiaoxi stood up cursing and swearing, reaching out to her. Chen Zhaodi took out the crumpled 60 cents from her pocket and handed them to the woman. The next second, her ears were harshly twisted. You always bring back so little. Confess. Have you, you worthless girl, been squirreling money away? Chen Zhaodi cried out in pain. No. Mom, I haven't. Chen Xingqian swung a duster harshly onto the girl's face and arms, leaving glaring red marks. You worthless piece of trash. If you dare hide money, I'll beat you to death. Beat her to death. Beat this money-wasting good-for-nothing to death. Chen Wangkai clapped joyously on the chair, his eyes flashing with excitement. Chen Zhaodi immediately knelt down. Mom, Dad, I didn't conceal anything, really I didn't. Please stop hitting me. Only then did Chen Xingqian and his wife Zhao Xiaoxi stop. Unlucky thing. Come and eat now. Don't let word get out and have people saying we mistreat you and don't let you eat your fill. Zhao Xiaoxi harshly knocked a chipped bowl on the table. The broken bowl contained half a bowl of rice soup, with only a few grains of rice in it, a sharp contrast to the other rich dishes on the table. Chen Zhaodi got up from the ground, trembling hands holding the bowl of rice soup, sipping it in small mouthfuls. This was the life she lived at home. It was also the reason why, even though she was 12 years old, people always thought she was only 7 or 8. Chen Wangkai picked up a piece of meat and held it out to Chen Zhaodi. Money wasting good for nothing, do you want to eat meat? Chen Zhaodi swallowed. Yes. How could she not? Even in her dreams she wanted to. The next second, Chen Wangkai threw the meat onto the floor. If you want to eat meat, pick it up from the floor with your mouth, remember not to use your hands. Chen Zhaodi's eyes tightened, but before she could react, her ear was once again violently twisted. You worthless wench. Didn't you hear what your brother said to you? He kindly offered you some meat, and you dare to glare at him. Eat that piece of meat right now, or he'll beat you to death. Although the meat had fallen on the floor, it was still a piece of meat after all. Thank you, little brother, I'll eat it now. Chen Zhaodi placed her bowl on the table, leaned down, and bit into the fatty meat with her mouth. The fat on the meat was cut quite thick, providing a satisfying mouthful. Yet Chen Zhaodi's eyes were welling up with tears. Being brought up in a family that values males more than females, she could only struggle to survive. But she would not accept her fate. Once she had saved enough money, she would leave this place. What Chen Zhaodi didn't know was that without an introduction letter, she wouldn't even be able to buy a train ticket. Without an introduction letter, even if she did manage to escape, she would likely end up as a vagabond. Ah. Mom, Dad, doesn't she look like a dog? The dog at the Tian's house also eats this way. Just like it. My precious son is so smart. Chen Wangkai scooped up another piece of meat and threw it on the floor, exclaiming in excitement, "Money-losing goods, you bark like a dog. Bark now. Are you deaf?" Woof. With a piece of meat in her mouth, Chen Zhaodi swallowed all her grievances and unwillingness. The laughter in the room grew louder. From a distance it sounded like a warm and happy family. After Yang returned home, she started to make dinner. She had stayed in Guangguan City for 6 days, so she planned to make a hearty meal that night. Soon, a sumptuous meal of 4 dishes and a soup was served. The braised pork belly wasn't greasy at all. Braised pork belly is a good source of quality protein and fatty acids, providing heme and cysteamine to improve iron absorption, useful for correcting iron deficiency anemia. It also nourishes the bodice and moistens dryness. Therefore, fatty meat is a good thing for women. The shrimp stir-fried with peas was refreshing. The combination of shrimp and peas can help enhance the bust line. Having been out for 6 days, 4 of which were spent on a train eating simple meals, Yang had almost forgotten her bust enhancement plans. Now that she was back home, she had to pick it up again. The spicy and delicious boiled fish. Water-boiled fish not only tastes good but also helps to curb cravings. Yang's water-boiled fish was so delicious that at the end of the meal, Qingray and Tsuehua even used the remaining soup to make a rice soup. Shepherd's purse tofu soup. Shepherd's purse contains a lot of oxalic acid, tartaric acid, malic acid, protein, fat, etc., which can treat red and swollen pain, conjunctivitis, night blindness, glaucoma, etc. Furthermore, the combination of mustard and tofu has the effect of beautifying the eyes and refreshing the body. Eating more shepherd's purse will make your eyes speak. As soon as Yang brought the dishes to the table, Qingray walked in holding his bag. "Yang, glad you're back. Since you left, your mother has been waiting for you every day." Yang said with a smile, "Auntie, we can eat now." Several little white rabbits hopped in behind Qingray. Yang squinted her eyes. "These rabbits seem pretty chubby. They have been raised for more than half a year, how could they not be fat?" Tsuehua walked in holding a child. Yang stroked her chin. "Mom and Auntie, would you prefer roasted rabbit or braised rabbit?" "What? They're planning to eat rabbit?" Hearing this, it seemed that the rabbits understood. They got scared and ran out of the room. Chapter 322, The Little Fangirl Visits, Plans to Advance _1 Initially, Yang had found these 8 small rabbits on the mountain. Now the little rabbits have all become fat rabbits. Moreover, these rabbits are very smart, knowing to take a stroll during the day and return at night. However, they are quite destructive and have nibbled all the green plants and fresh grass around the house to the point where nothing grows anymore. At this moment, the 4 of them sat at the dining table, eating and discussing how to cook the rabbit meat. "Why don't we cook spicy rabbit meat? I had it once in Inner Mongolia. The spicy rabbit meat didn't have the slightest gamey taste." Qingray picked up a piece of braised pork belly. "Spicy rabbit meat is also good." Yang nodded. "Wow. This pork tastes so delicious." After Qingray took a bite of the pork belly, his face was full of astonishment. The meat was tender and melted in the mouth with layers of fat and lean pork. When you bite into it, you get a burst of juices. It was layered, rich but not greasy, truly heaven on earth, rarely seen in the mortal world. Yang laughed and said, "This is braised pork belly." "Braised pork belly?" Qingray in surprise, "Is it one of the 4 treasures of Dongpa?" Yang nodded. Qingray further said, "Yang, you are so amazing. You even know how to cook braised pork belly." Had only seen this dish in books before, he didn't expect to taste it today. He felt so lucky. Having a piece of braised pork belly, then a piece of spicy and fragrant boiled fish, followed by a bowl of cleansing and grease-cutting shepherd's purse tofu soup, he felt his life had peaked. Li Xiangxian's dormitory. Ever since she was subtly expelled from the Mo family by old lady Mo, she had been bedridden with a serious illness. During her illness she had a clear understanding of a lot of things. First, she had lost face in front of old Lady Imo and must regain it quickly. It seemed that some plans needed to be expedited. Second, Ni Yang was a stumbling block in her life, and this stumbling block must be removed. Otherwise, her future life will continue to be overshadowed by Ni Yang. Li Xianxian had a good memory and clearly remembered many things from her past life. She took out a notebook and started to write. This time she had to make everyone look at her with new eyes. The light in the room wasn't very good. Li Xianxian took a piece of clothing and draped it over herself, then got up to open the curtains, letting the warm light in from outside. Just then the door was pushed open and a short-haired girl walked in. This was Li Xianxian's roommate Zhang Yingying. Zhang Yingying was a very kind girl. She had been taking care of Li Xianxian throughout her illness. "Xianxian, I brought dumplings from the cafeteria, do you want to eat them?" Zhang Yingying offered the lunchbox to Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian didn't look up and said, "Thank you, just put it there, I'll eat it later." "Okay." Zhang Yingying put the lunchbox aside and leaned over curiously. "Xianxian, what are you writing?" Li Xianxian quickly closed the notebook. "Sorry Yingying, I'm writing a piece that I plan to submit to the newspaper agency in a few days, so I can't show it to you right now." Zhang Yingying exclaimed, "Writing? Does that mean we'll have a famous writer in our dorms soon?" Being a writer in this era was a very lofty and remarkable profession which ordinary people could hardly achieve. Li Xianxian modestly smiled. "I wouldn't say a famous writer, I'm just writing casually." Zhang Yingying excitedly grabbed Li Xianxian's arm. "Xianxian, you are so amazing." Li Xianxian continued, "Don't rush to praise me yet, I'm just trying. It's not certain whether the newspaper agency will publish it." Zhang Yingying said, "With your talent, Xianxian, the newspaper agency will definitely not reject it." Li Xianxian laughed, "I'll take that as a good sign." Zhang Yingying added, "Xianxian, you're not fully recovered yet, you should eat first. Only when you're full can you write better." Li Xianxian nodded. That night, Li Xianxian stayed up all night writing without any sleep. By the time Zhang Yingying woke up at 8 o'clock, Li Xianxian was still writing at the desk. Zhang Yingying exclaimed, "Xianxian, you didn't sleep all night, did you?" Li Xianxian nodded. Zhang Yingying continued, "Xianxian, this isn't good. You shouldn't neglect your health for writing. Go wash up and sleep now, it's past 8 already." Chapter 323, Little Fangirl Visits, Plan to Advance _2. Li Xianxian smiled, "No worries, inspiration is flooding in, just wait for me to finish writing this piece." Even though Li Xianxian's memory is excellent, the saying, "the dullest pencil is better than the sharpest memory," still applies to her. She still needs to write down an outline in advance so she doesn't forget. After the outlines were listed, she started to write each piece one after another. Her works, each one of them, are always stunning. In this life she is determined to be the most dazzling person, standing shoulder to shoulder with Mo Baichuan. The only pitiful thing was those who deserved to die didn't die. But that's okay, she just needs to hurry up and publish her work in advance. After all, she's an original author. Does she have to worry about someone plagiarizing her work? Zhang Yingying started to wash her face and comb her hair. "Xianxian, take care of your health." Li Xianxian nodded, "I know." Ni Yang did not go to the city today, but was at home pickling sour cabbage. The sour fish has been selling well recently, and there isn't much pickled cabbage left at home. Ni Tsuehua walked out. Yang, teach me your secret technique for pickling cabbage so I can make it for you in the future." "Sure." Ni Yang nodded and shared her secrets to making pickled cabbage while she was preparing it. Ni Tsuehua is a quick learner, she understood after just one demonstration. "Sister Ni Yang, Sister Ni Yang." Gooden and several other kids excitedly ran into the yard. "Gooden, Penghu, Xiaohua, why are you guys running so fast?" Ni Yang gave them a warm smile. "Sister Ni Yang, there's a lady outside looking for you. She said she is your good friend. This woman, she dresses just like a little princess from a fairy tale." "A lady?" Ni Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. "What does this lady look like?" If she's a girl of their age from the village, Gooden and Penghu would definitely recognize her. If she's not, Ni Yang hasn't met anyone new recently. For a moment, Ni Yang really couldn't guess who could be looking for her. Gooden said, "Sister Ni Yang, why not go out and see for yourself?" "All right." Ni Yang untied her apron. "Mom, I'm going out for a bit." Ni Tsuehua nodded. "Sure, you go ahead, leave everything here to me." Ni Yang then went out with the children. Outside stood a young woman dressed in an imported princess dress, with slightly curly chestnut hair resting on her shoulders. A shiny little crown was on her head, and she was carrying an exquisite little handbag. Her nails were painted with pink nail polish. She really did look like a princess straight out of a fairy tale book. It was Li Yanran. And Yang did give her address to Li Yanran last time, but she didn't expect Li Yanran would actually come. Yang. Li Yanran came running towards Yang and hugged her excitedly. Yanran. Yang hugged Li Yanran back. Yang, Li Yanran continued, you have no idea how long it took me to find this place. Yang said with a smile, you could have just called me beforehand. I could pick you up. Our place is indeed hard to find. Li Yanran replied, I didn't want to inconvenience you by having you leave the village to take a call. Even though Li Yanran is a wealthy young lady, she still understands the ways of the world. Moreover, she truly admires and respects Yang, so she chose to visit Yang intentionally. I'll introduce you, Yang went on, this is Gooden, this is Penghu, and this is Xiaohua. You three can just call this beautiful lady Sister Yanran. The three children greeted Li Yanran politely, hello, Sister Yanran. Li Yanran replied to them with a smile, hello you guys. I came here in a hurry so I didn't have time to bring gifts. Next time I'll definitely bring some for you. Sister Yang is very beautiful and gentle, and it turns out her good friend is stunning and kind as well. In no time, the three children felt very fond towards Li Yanran. Gooden said shyly, Sister Yanran, you don't have to be so polite. After speaking, Gooden, Penghu, and Xiaohua ran off. Watching the children run off, Li Yanran said, they're so cute. Yang smiled, yes, they're at an age where they don't have a care in the world. Come in, let's go inside. Li Yanran nodded and followed Yang's steps. They arrived in the yard where Tsuehua was pickling the sour cabbage. She looked up, stunned by Li Yanran's appearance. My goodness. This young lady was dressed so elegantly. She looked just like a modern lady from the big city posters. Chapter 324. The Little Fangirl Visits, Plans to Advance _3. Yang introduced her, Mom, this is my good friend Li Yanran. Yanran, this is my mom. Li Yanran also gasped in surprise. No wonder Yang is so beautiful. It's all because of the good genes. Li Yanran suppressed her astonishment and politely said, hello, Auntie, you can just call me Yanran. Tsuehua wiped her hands on her apron. Hello, come in and take a seat. It hasn't been long since mother and daughter arrived in Beijing. It's not easy for Yang to have a good friend. Yang brought Li Yanran into the house. Yanran, you sit first, I will make you a cup of tea. Li Yanran quickly stood up. Yang, I can just sit casually, don't make me feel embarrassed. Yang laughed and said, what's there to be embarrassed, I'll come over with the tea. Yang turned around and went into the small kitchen. Li Yanran sat in the living room looking around. A very simple farmhouse, simple but elegant and cozy. In the living room there was a dining table and few benches, a baby carriage on the side, and on the cabinet near the window was a jade vase with a magnolia flower in it. Now it's April, not the time for magnolia flowers to bloom. Could they all be fake flowers? Li Yanran walked over curiously and found to her surprise that it wasn't a fake flower but a dried flower. The flower still had a faint fragrance. That's incredible. They managed to preserve the magnolia flower like this. Li Yanran exclaimed in awe. Yanran, come taste the milk tea. Yang brought a tray from outside. Li Yanran excitedly pointed at the magnolia flower. Yang, where did you buy this magnolia flower? Yang smiled and said, I didn't buy it, I picked it from our yard last summer. Picked? Li Yanran exclaimed, then how did you preserve it like this? Yang explained, first pick the fresh magnolia flower, remove the leaves, then allow it to air dry in a ventilated area, away from sunlight. Finally, use a bunch of herbal medicine to smoke it. Li Yanran nodded, that sounds complicated. Yang, you're amazing. Yang placed the tray on the table. Yanran, come taste the milk tea. Milk tea. Li Yanran's eyes lit up, she ran to Yang's side, picked up the milk tea and took a big gulp. This tastes exactly like the New York milk tea. Upon saying this, it dawned on Li Yanran, she exclaimed, New York wouldn't stand for Yang, would it? Yang nodded slightly, smart. Oh my god. Li Yanran was so astonished she did not know what to say. Turns out New York milk tea is Yang's. You have to understand, Li Yanran is a loyal fan of New York milk tea, she drinks it almost every day. But she rarely buys it herself, it's usually brought by the servants at home. She thought Yang was just an ordinary farm girl who cured Hudi. Who knew Yang could be so impressive? No wonder she could confront Li Xianxian that day. making Li Xianxian lose her composure and be sent home by Madame Imo Yangyang. I'm growing more and more in awe of you. Li Yanran's eyes sparkled as she reached for a piece of dried fruit from the tray. Is this strawberry? Yes, it's dried strawberries. Try them and see how they taste. Li Yanran put the dried strawberry in her mouth. It was crispy, not only retaining the sour and sweet taste of strawberries, but also had the taste of dessert, crunching in the mouth, making you want another piece after eating one. Li Yanran, with her mouth full of dried strawberries, mumbled, Yangyang, did you make this yourself? Yes. Li Yanran felt like kneeling to Yangyang. Yangyang, you're too amazing. Yangyang smiled lightly, well, just the third best in the world. Li Yanran continued, Yangyang, what machine did you use to make this dried fruit? A drying machine? But there were no food dryers in the country at that time. Yangyang said, I baked it in a bread kiln. A bread kiln? Li Yanran asked curiously, what's a bread kiln? Come with me, I'll show you. Yes. Li Yanran excitedly followed Yangyang. The two came to the corner of the yard where Yangyang pointed at a large object. This is the bread kiln. So, this is it. Li Yanran squatted down, touching and observing it with a look of curiosity. Yangyang, is this bread kiln really that miraculous? Chapter 325. The Little Fangirl Visits, Plans to Advance _4. Li Yanran was born into a wealthy family. When had she ever seen such things? Even the large roosters of the countryside were a first for her. Just now at the entrance of the village, she had been scared by a large rooster. Yangyang laughed, saying, of course there is such magic. A baking oven can roast anything, only limited by what you can't imagine. There's nothing a baking oven can't bake. Li Yanran's eyes turned toward a little rabbit gnawing on a carrot. Can you roast a rabbit? Yangyang nodded. Of course, why don't we have roasted rabbit for lunch? Yes. Li Yanran nodded and swallowed. The rabbit nearby thought, why do people always want to eat us nowadays? Then I'll go catch the rabbit now. I'll go with you. Li Yanran followed behind Yangyang. Yangyang took up 2 carrots, crouched on the ground, attracting all the small rabbits. Taking advantage of the rabbit's distraction, she swiftly grabbed 2 small rabbits. The rest of the rabbits fled in fear. My God, humans are so scary. Li Yanran followed by Yangyang's side. Yangyang, let me hold one. Yangyang handed her one of the small rabbits. Li Yanran showed a mischievous grin as she petted the rabbit's fur. The little bunny is so cute. Yangyang was worried that her next sentence would be, Bunny is so cute, why are you eating the bunny? Fortunately, Li Yanran was not the type of girl who overflowed with sympathy. After all, every creature has its own rules for survival. Tsuehua, who had finished pickling sour cabbage, came over from the other side. Yangyang, are we having rabbit for lunch? Yangyang nodded. Roast one, braise one. Tsuehua continued. Hand them to me, I'll kill them. All right. Yangyang and Li Yanran handed the rabbits in their hands to Tsuehua. Tsuehua carried a rabbit in one hand, muttered the rabbit-killing song. Little rabbit, don't blame us. You are a meal to us humans, shedding your fur for a cloth coat, returning again in the spring of next year. Li Yanran curiously asked, Auntie, what song is that? Yangyang laughed and explained, this is our local chicken-killing song that my mom has adapted into a rabbit-killing song. Back in our hometown, whenever we kill a chicken, we always recite this song. The original text begins, little chicken, don't blame us. This was a unique memory for children of the 1980s. In later generations, this kind of folk rhyme would be forgotten. Li Yanran followed behind, reciting the saying to herself and then burst into laughter. I must say, it's pretty rhyming. Yangyang nodded, indeed. Before long, Tsuehua had prepared the 2 rabbits. Yangyang marinated one of the rabbits with seasonings and placed it in a basin, then went to light the fire for the baking oven. Li Yanran followed Yangyang's side. Yangyang, let me try, okay? Sure. Yangyang handed the match to Li Yanran. Li Yanran, being a wealthy heiress, when had she ever done this before? After trying for a good while, she only managed to create thick smoke without starting the fire, and had to give the match back to Yangyang. Yangyang, you do it. Yangyang took the match, lightly struck it. Flick. The match lit up. Soon, flames came up from the dry grass in the baking oven, becoming more and more vigorous inside. Li Yanran, quite upset, said, this damn oven. It's unfair to newcomers. Yangyang laughed softly. Li Yanran then asked, once the fire is started, where will you put the rabbit to roast? Yangyang explained, once the oven's temperature reaches a certain level, you take out the firewood, you can roast things inside. It's like a natural oven. Li Yanran was skeptical. Can it really be fully cooked? And Ai Yang remained mysterious. You'll see soon. After getting the fire ready in the oven, and Ai Yang went to the kitchen to prepare other dishes. Yanran, do you have any dishes you especially like? I can cook them for you. It was her first time at Ai Yang's house, so Li Yanran needed to be reserved to avoid scaring Ai Yang. Yang, I eat anything. I'm not picky. If her parents had heard her say that, they'd probably be moved to tears. And Ai Yang laughed. Then I'll cook whatever. Sure. Just then there was a child's crying in the air. Li Yanran asked, where's that child coming from? It's my little sister, she's over 9 months old now. And Ai Yang explained. Li Yanran exclaimed in surprise, wow. Yang, you have a younger sister? I'll go check on her. I love children. Chapter 326. The Little Fangirl Visits, Plans to Advance _5. Go ahead. And Ai Yang nodded slightly. Li Yanran truly adored children, and little Ai Yun was equally fond of her. Peals of laughter, big and small, echoed continuously from the courtyard. Ai Yang rolled up her sleeves, preparing a table filled with fine dishes such as sour fish, grilled rabbit, spicy rabbit meat, fried river shrimp, vegetable tofu soup and so on. It was a feast for the eye, nose and palate. Li Yanran almost drooled as she watched from the side. It smelled incredibly delicious. Even better than what the chef they'd hired from abroad could make. And Ai Tsuehua warmly said, Yanran, don't be shy, come sit down and eat. Thank you, Auntie. Li Yanran expressed her thanks politely and took a seat. Since it was her first time visiting Ai Yang's house, she was a bit reserved and hesitant to help herself to the dishes. And Ai Tsuehua stood up and used serving chopsticks to serve Li Yanran. Yanran, don't be shy when you're here at Auntie's house. We might not have any fancy dishes to offer, but go ahead and eat and drink as you wish. Please don't starve yourself. Li Yanran smiled and said, Auntie, you're too kind. Yang has prepared a whole table full of delicious dishes and you're still saying there's no good food. Then eat up. Don't be shy. Li Yanran nodded, picked up a slice of fish and put it in her mouth. Truthfully, she didn't have any particular expectations for the fish dish. After all, fish has a strong smell. But the taste of this piece of fish astounded her. The fish was not only exceptionally tender but also sour and spicy, making it extremely appetizing. It was so good that Li Yanran wished she could swallow her own tongue as well. She never knew fish could be cooked to taste this delicious. It's delicious. Li Yanran gave Ai Yang a thumbs up. Yang, your cooking is absolutely amazing. Ai Yang smiled slightly. Thank you. Li Yanran thought the fish was already delicious enough, until she tasted the grilled rabbit. The grilled rabbit was crispy outside and tender inside. The outer skin was sprinkled with a layer of chili powder and cumin powder, and once she bit down, oil oozed out, making every mouthful a delight. The deliciousness made Li Yanran doubt, could this rabbit meat really be grilled in that ordinary oven outside? This was absolutely magical. The spicy rabbit meat had a unique flavor, and the refreshing vegetable tofu soup effectively cut the richness. One mouthful of meat, one mouthful of soup, happiness knew no bounds. Li Yanran, who usually only ate half a bowl of rice, managed to consume 2 large bowls of rice and a heap of dishes that day. It wasn't until around 6 in the evening that Li Yanran reluctantly proposed to leave. If possible, she even wanted to become Ai Yang's real sister so she could live in Ai Yang's house and eat Ai Yang's cooking every day. Ai Yang was truly amazing. Not only was she a year younger than Yanran, she was also more beautiful. And not just that, she could cook and had excellent medical skills. She was nearly omnipotent. Even Yanran, the heir to a wealthy family, couldn't compare to half of her. She completely overturned Yanran's understanding of country girls. When she got home, she saw her brother Li Tingji sitting on the couch in the living room, carving something out of a piece of wood. Li Yanran curiously asked, "Brother, what are you doing?" Without looking up, Li Tingji replied, "Carving a handicraft." Li Yanran continued, "Why are you making a handicraft? Is it for Li Xianxian?" Li Tingji didn't answer, just continued carving the object in his hand. The crystal lamp light cast a gentle glow on his face, highlighting his focused and serious demeanor. Li Yanran sighed, "Brother, are you out of your mind? Li Xianxian doesn't like you at all. She likes Mo Baichuan." Li Tingji didn't reply. He was never much of a talker. His way of liking someone was simple. Quietly loving, silently protecting. As long as that person was happy, that was enough. Li Yanran continued, "Brother, are you listening to me at all?" Li Tingji remained silent. Li Yanran said, "Brother, you're not blind. How could you be attracted to someone like Li Xianxian? She's not worthy of you at all." Don't you dare badmouth Xianxian. Li Tingji looked up at Li Yanran. Xianxian is knowledgeable and talented. He had never met a girl as talented and knowledgeable as Li Xianxian. What truly conquered Li Tingji was a poem by Li Xianxian, published in a wall newspaper. I came by the moonlight only because you were in the mountains. The mountain breeze brushed my hair, neck, bare shoulders. And the moonlight clothed me in splendor. Chapter 327. The Little Fangirl Visits, Plans to Advance _6. Could an ordinary girl compose such a poem if she weren't talented? Absolutely impossible. Li Yanran rolled her eyes speechlessly. Brother, those involved are often perplexed while bystanders see things clearly. Don't be deceived by appearances. Li Xianxian is not as wonderful as you think. You have no idea, her manner of eating was so disgusting at the Mo family's last time. It was nauseating. Li Yanran didn't like Li Xianxian one bit and she couldn't understand why Li Tingji fell for Li Xianxian. How could such a smart and savvy girl like her have such a foolish brother? Out of all the people, why does he have to fall for Li Xianxian? She's such a flirt. Li Yanran. Li Tingji lifted his head, each word filled with a stern warning. Silently Li Yanran responded, all right, I won't say it. Li Tingji glared at Li Yanran cautioning, if I ever hear you insult Xianxian again even if you're my sister, I won't be easy on you. Li Yanran chuckled lightly, what will you do? Kill your own sister? Li Tingji coldly responded, try and see. At his words, Li Yanran shivered involuntarily. Oh my god. Could her foolish brother be losing his mind? This won't do. She can't let Li Tingji sink any deeper into this. Li Tingji needs to see someone who is superior to Li Xianxian. Then, an image popped into Li Yanran's mind of someone with picturesque facial features. An Yang. Not only is An Yang 1,000 no a million times more attractive than Li Xianxian, but she's also exceptionally talented. Most importantly, her cooking is delicious, leaving Li Xianxian far behind in the dust. Yes, it should be An Yang. Grinning, Li Yanran said, brother, aren't you going to ask where I went today? Li Tingji coolly responded, I don't know. Li Yanran wasn't bothered by Li Tingji's attitude. Her weird brother never had a good expression for anyone. I went to a friend's house. Her name is Yang, incredibly beautiful and very capable. Lots of times better than Li Xianxian. Upon hearing the last sentence, Li Tingji's expression changed abruptly. Stop your unrealistic fantasies. In this life aside from Xianxian I will never love anyone else. Li Yanran responded speechlessly, brother, don't be so cocky. What if you end up truly liking Yang? Li Tingji stated firmly, that's absolutely impossible. He has seen plenty of attractive girls before, but he is not the kind to judge a person based solely on looks, he values their inner essence. What if you fall for her? Li Yanran raised an eyebrow. There are no what ifs. Li Yanran continued, brother, is it really worth it? Li Xianxian doesn't like you at all. Not only does Li Xianxian not like Li Tingji, but she's also stringing him along, giving him mixed signals, which is what Li Yanran dislikes most about Li Xianxian. Yet, Li Tingji can't seem to see it, treating Li Xianxian like a treasure. Li Tingji said, this is my business, not yours. Li Yanran replied, but you're my brother. How is it not related to me? Take care of yourself, said Li Tingji as he stood up, put on his coat and walked out. Brother, where are you going? Li Yanran immediately followed behind Li Tingji. Li Tingji turned to look back at Li Yanran. Stop following me. With a sigh of resignation, Li Yanran didn't bother guessing where her foolish brother was heading. He was surely off to find Li Xianxian. It seems she must devise a plan for An Yang and Li Tingji to meet. Li Yanran stroked her chin in contemplation. As expected, Li Tingji had indeed gone to see Li Xianxian. He waited for a long time outside the girls' dormitory until he finally saw Li Xianxian come downstairs. Tingji, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. It's fine. Li Tingji seemed a bit nervous standing in front of the girl he liked. I'm not in a rush. Li Xianxian glanced at Li Tingji and said, by the way Tingji, I have a favor to ask. Whatever you need Xianxian, Li Tingji said, as long as I can help, I definitely will. Li Xianxian asked, could you lend me 20,000 yuan? Mo Baichuan's birthday was fast approaching, and Li Xianxian wanted to give him a surprise. Additionally, she wanted to repay a debt. Without hesitation, Li Tingji responded, of course Xianxian, but I don't have the cash on me right now. How about I bring it to you tomorrow morning? At this, Li Xianxian looked shaken. She knew that Li Tingji had always liked her. But she hadn't expected him to agree to lend her the money so readily. After all, 20,000 wasn't a small sum. 20,000 in the 80s was equivalent to 200,000 in later years. If she had known how much Li Tingji liked her, she wouldn't have needed to sell blood to buy the ice skin jade cream last time. She could have just borrowed the money from Li Tingji. What a miscalculation. Li Xianxian internally kicked herself. How could she have forgotten about Li Tingji? Maintaining her composure, Li Xianxian nodded. Thank you, Tingji. By the way, why did you call me out so late at night? Li Tingji continued. Oh, I have something to give you. He then took out a wood carving from his pocket and handed it to Li Xianxian. The wood carving depicted a phoenix soaring with wings spread wide. In Li Tingji's heart, Li Xianxian was a noble phoenix. Li Xianxian reached out to take it. Thank you. I really like it. Li Tingji blushed a bit. I'm glad you like it. I'll take my leave if there's nothing else. Li Xianxian nodded. Li Tingji turned to leave. Just then, Li Xianxian suddenly called out to Li Tingji, Tingji, wait. Li Tingji halted. Xianxian, what is it? Walking over, Li Xianxian gently embraced Li Tingji before whispering in his ear, Tingji, thank you so much. I feel really fortunate to have such a good confidant in you in this lifetime. Li Tingji froze, his heart pounding in his chest. Feeling Li Tingji's heartbeat, a smile tugged at the corners of Li Xianxian's mouth. It seemed that she had underestimated his feelings for her. There was nothing wrong with Li Tingji, he was well off and influential. It was just that he paled in comparison to Mo Baichuan. The dim night light conveniently concealed their movements. Had it been daylight, it undoubtedly would have caused a stir, especially considering the conservative standards of male-female relationships in the 80s. Having returned from the future, Li Xianxian didn't think there was anything inappropriate about a hug between a man and a woman, as long as their relationship remained that of platonic friends. As for what Li Tingji thought, that was none of her concern. Chapter 328, Beautiful Rose Wall, Have Western Food Together _1 Li Xianxian thoroughly enjoyed the sense of superiority from being pursued by men. What was this behavior called? In later times, it was referred to as being a white lotus green tea bitch. But Li Xianxian certainly did not see it that way. If she had the ability to make men submit at her feet, offering her everything, why was she labeled in various derogatory terms? As for those who lacked the ability, they could only resort to jealousy and slander. Feeling that the time was right, Li Xianxian let go of Li Tingji. Tingji, it's getting late, you should head back. Okay. Li Tingji seemed slightly out of it. By the time he came to his senses, Li Xianxian had already disappeared into the dense night. He promised himself to protect Li Xianxian for the rest of his life. Staring at the direction of Li Xianxian's disappearance, a firm resolve glimmered in Li Tingji's eyes. Yang has been quite busy recently. She was not only occupied with the noodle restaurant's affairs but also the renovation of the new house. The new house was only built to the second floor, still 2 floors short of completion. The outer walls were already set up. Yang planned to plant roses around the walls to create a natural rose wall. Roses were vine-like plants with blossoms that could be pink or red. If allowed to grow all over the wall, it would be quite a sight. Even when there were no flowers, a lush green wall wouldn't be unsightly. Living under a beautiful rose wall, just imagining it felt so romantic. Life should be filled with moments of charm and grace. In reality, Yang always had a love for life in the countryside, but in her previous life, she was too busy with work and earnings and missed out on the beauty of life. So, she wants to achieve all that she missed in her previous life in this one. Besides the rose wall, Yang also planned to build a grape trellis in the courtyard, with a stone table and chairs under it, where they could laze about and eat grapes in the summer. On the night of Qixi Festival, Chinese Valentines, one could eavesdrop on the conversation between Yolang and Jinu, cowherd and weaver girl, under the grape trellis. She wanted to dig a small pond too, plant some water lilies, raise a few koi fish and a couple of turtles. Yang picked up her pen and started designing the courtyard. In a little while, a gorgeous little courtyard began taking shape on the paper. Yang clapped her hands, rose from her chair, and started on the first design on her blueprint. The rose wall. The wall was already complete. All it needed now were the roses. Roses. There were rose seeds sold in the city's gardening center, but the seeds take a long time to sprout. By the time the roses enveloped the entire wall, it would be into the next year. Yang rubbed her chin pensively. Suddenly, she remembered there were wild roses on the mountain behind. The wild roses were a fiery red color, exotic and vibrant, even more so framed by the green leaves. It was now mid-spring, the perfect time to grow wild roses. Come summertime, a wall full of red flowers could be seen. However, as Ni Yang had just moved to Jinghua village, she couldn't remember where the wild roses were. Ni Yang picked up a small hoe, put on her carry bag, greeted Ni Tsuehua and headed outside. On reaching the village center, she saw Gooden playing marbles under a banyan tree with a few kids. Coincidentally, as Ni Yang arrived, she saw Yang Guobao running towards them, exhilarated. "Sister Ni Yang." "Guobao." Ni Yang squatted down and opened her arms to him. Yang Guobao rushed into Ni Yang's arms. "Sister Ni Yang, I missed you a lot." "Debao, what brought you here?" Gooden approached, his face filled with surprise. "Gooden?" Yang Guobao turned and hugged Gooden. Gooden, a bit embarrassed, said, "Grown men, all this hugging is a bit." Yang Guobao interrupted, "Oh Gooden, Sister Ni Yang, I brought gifts for you all." As he said this, Yang Guobao took out 2 blue boxes, slightly larger than a cigarette pack. "These are Tetris game consoles?" Ni Yang raised an eyebrow slightly. She didn't expect Tetris game consoles to exist in this era. She thought these consoles were from the 90s. But having a Tetris game console in this era was sure more impressive than owning a cell phone in the later era. "What's this?" Gooden asked curiously. "This is a video game console, they'll teach you how to play." Yang Guobao switched it on and a familiar tune filled the air. While Yang Guobao manipulated the game console, he explained to Gooden, "These 4 buttons here represent up, down, left and right and help control the direction of the Tetris blocks. The big button on the right rotates the blocks and also starts the game." That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.